What's up, guys? It is a Friday night hangout. Appreciate you guys being here as always. And it's a really special Friday. I mean, the weekend's here. Everybody should be in a good mood. It's a great time. We got lots to talk about with the rookie minicamp, the draft, and also a special guest. So I'll go ahead and throw him in there right now. But Philly 500 is here, the man who needs no introduction. Everybody knows who this is. But what's up,
happening,
man?
my man? How you? It is good to be here. I'm on the Philly special. I love it, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Very, very blessed, very excited, hyped for the year. I said it before we were kind of talking about it pre-show as well, but like the fact that we're only in May is the only part that's a little bit of a struggle because I'm like, we have a long time to wait before we get to the regular season, and I'm so hyped at this point.
I know. That's always the worst part of it. You get through the free agency, you get through the draft, and then it's like you'll get the schedule release, and then it's really nothing. And especially, like I always say, from June to July when training camp starts, that's like a whole nother off season. It seems like it goes as long as how long you've been waiting already. So, it's the slow time coming up. It's going to be tough, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're going to just have to find things to talk about. And, we do have, and I guess we could just jump in because I really have no specific direction for this, but I appreciate you coming on and just discussing all things birds.
Yeah,
But,
of course.
we got more, at least a little bit more to talk about, or we won't have to wait as much because the Eagles are going to have more practices and Vic Fangio lobbying Nick Sirianni to get those practices and everything there. So that's pretty good, a positive sign. But I'm curious to get your takeaways. I've heard from lots of people in the comments and everything else, and we will get to questions and topics, everything there too. But after hearing from Vic Fangio, the first time officially in forever, it seems like, but actually getting it from him, what were your immediate takeaways and what's he going to bring to this defense?
Well, I like some of the things he said, especially about the way Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis have to be in shape. I liked how he talked about how the rookies kind of got to go out there and prove it. I liked all that stuff, but I'm going to be totally honest with you. All I can think about is Sean Desai and what he said last year about we're going to take on the city of Philadelphia. We're going to have that attitude, and then to get none of it. But I mean, overall, I guess the main thing that I take out of it is I feel like we've got a coach that is experienced enough that what happened last year is not going to happen again. So I feel like we're in good hands in that regard. I'm not the biggest fan of his scheme. I'm just going to be honest. I come from the old Buddy Ryan days. I come from Buddy Ryan, watching him and Jim Johnson. I really like a more aggressive defense, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you honestly. And I said this beforehand as well. It's a great point that you bring up, certainly for Desai, because who doesn't get hyped after he's like, you're going to feel this defense, you're going to feel this Philadelphia Eagles defense, and that's what we all wanted. And I mean, literally, there was hardly any of that.
There was nothing to feel.
Because the middle of the field was wide open. That's the feeling there was, there you go. Just take what you want. So hopefully, I've said this, and then, like people say, okay, well, you shouldn't actually say that out loud, but it can't be worse. It can't get any worse than it was last year. And,
no.
I mean, I'm hopeful. I am very excited about Fangio, but I also agree, like, my preference would be don't really allow the offense to dictate terms. You take it to them. And, hey, you know what? It's a Fangio system. It's a Fangio scheme, off-ball coverage, quarters. You're going to, I'm trying to temper expectations because I feel like there's going to be games where we're going to go, well, there's the middle of the field. It's wide open again. They're taking what they want, but it will be better. And I like the fact that he talked about getting all the guys up to speed and all that. So, I mean, I'm trying to again, temper expectations, but there's a lot of positivity.
Well, here's what I'll say is if the bleeding starts, I believe he can stop the bleeding. Once the bleeding started last year, Desai had no experience. None of those coaches had any experience to deal with it. I feel like Fangio will do that. But, I got to tell you, you have this press conference. I really wish somebody would have brought up Hassan Reddick and what happened there. I still am not sure about those edge rushers. I'm very concerned about it, and I want to know why Reddick is not here. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's a fair point because you would have thought that there'd be something. There's a lot of, and I get it. Like, it's first what is it, like first impression, so to speak, with the media. So it's like, do you throw the softball questions? And there's been lots of softball questions, even after we know the coordinators have been there for a long time. But still, yeah, I was like, Could we not have gotten a little bit more? It'll be
Right.
curious because hey, he talked about Bryce Huff, and I'm hopeful for Bryce Huff, but I also said like if Hassan Reddick, there was a way to bring him back. Like he's the difference maker. He's the closer. He's proven
Right.
commodity. Versus
Yeah.
like I'm hopeful. I think these guys can be good, but we don't
Right.
exactly know for sure. So we're just kind of
I mean,
hoping on it.
wouldn't it have been nice to have Bryce Huff behind him and Nolan Smith and them come along and show you something so you feel a lot more comfortable? It wasn't like you had to resign Hassan Reddick to a new deal. That's just not the case. He was in the last year of his contract. He could have played it out. Um, they just chose not to do it. I mean, he's not signed a new contract with the Jets as of right now. So
Yeah,
who knows?
it's a fair point. Yeah, because he is. I expected to, and maybe eventually we'll get it. Talking about like the contract, and all of a sudden we'll go, okay, well, that doesn't make sense. We wouldn't have paid that amount of whatever it is, 25
Right.
million a year, or whatever, or the type that he wants. But still, it's like, yeah, who wouldn't love that? Who would say you got Hassan Reddick, you got Bryce Huff, you got Josh Sweat, you got the rotation, Nolan
Right.
Smith, you throw in there, the other guys. But we'll see. It's going to be different. Interesting, who that might take
Yeah,
place.
very interesting.
I
Very, very.
thought,
Preseason's going to be very interesting.
yeah.
That's for sure.
I
Yeah.
think a lot of times, we go in and we say, hey, this guy's got a solidified role. So
Right.
the blessing and the curse, like hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, we stay healthy,
Right.
no big deals there. But like you want some more practices, you want guys to compete for jobs. Those are good things, but sometimes it comes with the territory of injuries or keeping guys healthy. And
Yeah.
so I'm hopeful, but I like the fact where it was kind of the iron sharpens iron comment, and saying like, hey, we don't for sure know where these or which guys are going to play. Now there's some of them that are kind of a given, at the
Right.
starters and things like that, but linebacker is going to be just strange. Like I don't know where to go with that because Vic Fangio, when he's asked about linebacker, he goes, "Oh, inside linebacker, that's what I'm thinking," and immediately brings up Zack Baun before any other
That was
linebacker.
the
I'm
first
like,
one. Yeah.
huh? Wait a sec. Wait. Inside
Yeah.
linebacker. Did you
Yeah.
mean Zack Baun? So he's
He
high
brought him
on
up
him,
first.
but that's interesting. What do you make of that?
I got the sense that he wasn't all that happy with what he's got to work with. But I was a little taken back by him bringing him up first, being that he admitted, like right after he brought him up, that he really hasn't played the position. So it's kind of new for him. So yeah, it's a little bit of an interesting answer he gave, and my gut feelings was that he would have liked them to do something else at that position. They haven't. So we'll see.
Yeah. It's I will be curious to learn or find out. I mean, whenever we might get a report, we may not, but Howie made a lot of moves. Who were they possibly close to getting within free agency or the draft? And
Right.
some things didn't fall necessarily a particular way. But yeah,
Right.
it's to your point, like Fangio, I think the wording that he used was it was kind of interesting, even the way he chose it. But it's like there's not an eagle yet. Like basically, like there's
Right.
not a for sure that we're gonna go with out of all the guys that I can throw out there. Yet he did go as far as saying Zack Baun first, and even it's like, hey,
Yeah.
there's Andrew Van Ginkel comparisons beforehand that we had made. Howie
Right.
Roseman had said, but it's like, okay, Andrew Van Ginkel did not play inside the majority. It was like I
Right.
think what 23% or something like that, really low amount of
Mm.
playing inside. So yeah, I don't necessarily. That's the one area or the biggest area I should say on the defense where I'm kind of like. I
Right.
don't know. I'm hopeful, but if that group steps up, then we're golden. But if they don't,
What
you could be still in the same situation.
I think Devin White is going to be the guy that steps up because
Okay.
I still believe that he has got top 5 linebacker talent in him. I think that if you look at what happened to him, he wanted a contract extension. They didn't want to give it to him. Then he wanted a trade. They didn't give it to him. He didn't handle that situation good. But I think being that he's on a 1-year deal and he's going to a fresh start, I think his head will be in it. And I really think that he's the guy that could take us, take that position and run with it. To be honest with you, I actually am more worried about the edge rushers than I am those linebackers, just based upon the
Yeah.
way the Eagles view that spot. So I'm hopeful that Devin White is going to be what he was a few years ago.
if he is, I mean, yeah, we're definitely sitting pretty there because then
Right.
you just insert who if it's Zach Baun, that'd be shocking, but it
Right.
could be very well could be based on what he's if it's Nakobe Dean, maybe he's there, he stays healthy, but yeah, it
Trotter,
is
baby.
it's
Trotter
it
Jr.
could
That's my
be
guy.
Axeman,
I'm rooting for
that
him. I'm
the
rooting
fact
for
that
him.
we got him. It's and let me get the super chat real quick. Josh H, appreciate the 5. He said Reddick, going back to the Reddick comment, but says Reddick isn't here because he was a cancer in the locker room. What other excuse is there? I mean, I don't know.
He
What do you,
might have been. We don't know because nobody said anything.
right?
You know, I mean, here's a guy that has had 4 years in a row, double-digit sacks on 3 different teams. There's one thing that you know about Hassan Reddick: he's going to get you 10+ sacks. So to just
Yeah.
give that up for these guys that haven't shown that they can consistently do it is a scary proposition for me.
Mm-hmm. It is. You're right, because it's a known commodity versus a risk, and saying hopefully these guys make up for it. And the only one that we could, I get it. Like, you don't really talk about anybody in the defense the last 7 games of the season because it was just a mess. But still, like, the only guy that you could mostly count on was Hassan Reddick. Like, he might not show up the entire game, but the last couple plays of the game, if someone was going to make a play, granted, we didn't see that much last season towards the end, but if someone was going to, it was Hassan Reddick being in that spot. So,
yeah,
I don't know. I can't fully get behind the cancer necessarily because there's so many things with the coaches.
Yeah, no, you're right. And the thing with being a closer is you got to be winning the game. We weren't winning any games to close it out, so there was nothing to close out. Teams were running the ball, killing the clock by that time.
Yeah,
we stunk. So to me, it's hard to blame one guy. But I don't know what happened in the locker room. I would feel much better if something would have leaked out saying, yeah, Reddick was a problem. But I don't know. It's a very weird situation. And the only thing that does make sense is that there was something going on in the locker room.
Yeah, could be. There was, I think with the rumors, and this is the hard part because we don't know, again, the truth, who's spinning it, who's throwing some things out there. But shout out to Fitness Warrior said here, because if you watch the tape from 2022 and then 2023 of Hassan Reddick, he wasn't as disciplined, not highlights the actual film. And, it makes you think I can't remember who reported this or who put their name on it, so I'm not going to throw it. But the chasing sacks mentality, knowing the contract's looming. But,
all might be true. All might be true. And a lot of that is, in my opinion, also how much respect did they have for their defensive coordinator? How much respect did they have for the whole coaching staff? It was young guys. They thought they could get away with certain things, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you could do that with Vic Fangio. And then I think getting Matt Patricia, putting him in there at the end of the year, I think it just made everything that much worse. So to me, it's like, yeah, we could blame Reddick or say this or that, but you can say that pretty much about everybody on defense as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, there's not really a bright spot that we take away and say, hey, that guy played really good. That one deserves, a definite contract extension in terms of the defensive side. Thank goodness we did for the offense, and we took care of some guys. But yeah, defensively, I don't know. It's a question that we're all wanting to see, and the fact that they're going to get a lot of the reps in training camp. Fangio said he's going to prepare them, throw basically as much as he can at them as possible. If for nothing else, it'll be a difference of like when we're getting the reports of, hey, Sean Desai changed things up on the defense this week at practice. Like, excuse me, we're week 8. Like, why are we doing this at this point? So it's like they should have the body of work there and be better. But yeah, it comes down to the players making plays. And what do you make? Let's get in the draft, because this is a lot of what it relies on. I mean, Fangio, yes, getting these free agents, but there's some great potential and some good draft picks, but we haven't watched your videos. We haven't spoken personally about these picks until now. So we'll start in sequential order, I guess. Quinyon Mitchell, first night, 22. What on
number
earth?
One target? My number one target in this draft. He was. If everybody said to me, who would you want in this draft? Quinyon Mitchell was the guy. I thought you had to get up to 15, 16, but the way the draft fell, where it was like so many offensive players going off the board, he actually fell to us. So I think we got a legitimate steal. To me, I think he was the best corner in this draft. I guess you could bring up that he played in Toledo as where Arnold was in Alabama. But I think if you look at
Yeah.
this kid, I think he reminds me. I'm not trying to like jinx it, but he gives me Sauce Gardner vibes. So
Woo.
I really love uh this move, and I'm not saying that he's going to be Sauce Gardner, but I
Right.
just think like the way he looks, he's kind of tall. He's taller than you think he is. He just reminds me of that. I think it was the best pick that the Eagles could have made at the time. And as far as I'm concerned, he should be starting day one. That's how I feel.
I'm right there with you on that. Yes, there's no question in my mind that he should be starting. And it's funny because I was saying the same thing. Like I was getting asked, and I even tweeted it out right before the draft. Like the Eagles, their Twitter account said, "Hey, with the 22nd pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select," and then they had the blank. They fill in the blank. And I tweeted Quinyon Mitchell, but it was more so just to like out of hope. Because to your
Right.
point, I was also thinking the same thing. The only way this works is if you trade up, you get your guy, and you take Quinyon there because there's no way he's going to fall to 22. And somehow, as shocked as I was for like 2 years ago draft with Jalen Carter being available at 9, this was more shocking to me than Jalen Carter because I'm like, how on earth is the
Right.
best cornerback in the class? Yes, you could argue Terry Arnold, but I'd say certainly a fit for the Eagles. Quinyon Mitchell at 22, like you get the best defensive player in both drafts consecutively. It's unbelievable. Yes, they need to live up to expectations. There's tons riding on the coaching staff and all that. But I'm with you. Quinyon has to start. And what does it mean for, guys like James Bradberry, for example? Are you on the,
Right.
like, is he going to be here, do you think? Or do you think he's on the move? Does he make this opening day, starting day roster? Where's he at?
I go back and forth on this one because some days I think they're going to cut him. Other days I think they'll keep him. Right now I think they're gonna keep him. I think they're gonna go into season with him as a starter. That's just my
Okay.
gut feeling, but who knows?
So you're, but you, to your point, if he is a starter, you would disagree with that. But that's what you feel like they're going to do. They're going to start James Bradberry and Slay.
I feel
Then
like I feel like they start Bradberry and Slay, but I don't think that it's going to take much. I believe at some point in the season, Bradberry gets replaced by Mitchell.
okay,
That's what my guess would be.
yeah. I'm super hopeful. I will say because I'm in agreement with you that Quinyon Mitchell should be starting from day one. I don't know, and this is a part of like I love a lot of Vic Fangio's methods. But if we go back to Miami and the rumored reports of players being frustrated or not really getting
Right.
along with him, or the fact that he asked a lot of his players, and hey, that's good. Learn film sessions, practice, all that. And he didn't play a couple of the younger players in Miami that fans were frustrated, or Miami fans were frustrated about. So that's the only part is like, okay, is he going to be willing to do that, or is he going to say, we've got a guy here that's 1 year removed from being an All-Pro? Whether you believe it or not, I very much hesitate to even say All-Pro next to James Bradberry after last season. But it's a new coordinator. It's a guy who can teach the system and the scheme better than anybody else because it's his.
Right.
I don't know. I wrestle with it where I'm like,
Why-
I think he's on the move.
I have a question for you. What happened to James Bradberry? How do you go from a Pro Bowler to what happened? What is your theory on that?
My theory is, the poor guy's got so many nicknames that are, nicknames are usually a good thing. We're going to get into a couple of the other ones, but usually they're a good thing. Then I guess for the reverse, if you start getting an
Right.
astronomical number, then you're like, well, okay, that's actually for the negative reason. But most of the time we say, hey,
Right.
that guy's got a lot of nicknames. It's like, oh, they must be a good player. But
Right.
unfortunately, he picked up a lot more this last season than he had in the All-Pro year. I think it comes down to, honestly, just his confidence. Like, I think mentally, after the Super Bowl, and
That's
hey, look,
exactly right.
I totally appreciate his honesty, his willingness to just own up. Like, a lot of players may have, like, make an excuse. I wouldn't have thought any less of him if he said, hey, you know what, the ref, I don't
Right.
believe the ref should call it. Like, it's a physical game, blah, 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 whatever you want to say. But he owned up. He said, hey, you know what, that's a hold. It was a hold. I did it.
Yep.
It was my mistake. But I just don't know because it's total speculation because, I don't know James Bradberry. And even if we were to
Right.
ask the question, would he say, anything about it? But he seems a lot more reserved naturally than a guy like Slay or some of the other guys on the team.
Right.
And I just, it feels like that weight was a lot. And then as the season progressed, or the off season progressed, I just wonder, it just seemed to have gotten to him because the confidence level
Yeah.
was not there. And then I think you made it, you intensified it by then in training camp saying, hey, let's move you to slot. Like, what are we
Right.
doing? The guy's already possibly, again, total speculation, but struggling with some confidence. And then you want to
Right.
try to ask him to play some slot, a little bit outside. Then he gets injured and he has a slower start to the season. I think it just snowballed on him to where it's like,
Yeah.
there's no there's nothing that you can be rooted in and grounded in. And then it just got even worse with the coordinator changes and all that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Is the bigger question, is it fixable? Can he rebound from that? Do you
Well,
believe in
that,
anything with James Bradberry?
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he can rebound, but I agree with you. I think it was a Super Bowl. I think he lost confidence. The way he was getting trolled for like 2 weeks, all over the place. I think it affected him. I think he lost confidence. And also the other thing is maybe not having C.J. Gardner-Johnson didn't help.
It's a
That
good point.
that could
Yeah.
be a big thing too. So we know the way I look at Bradberry is I would rather have Mitchell start because he's younger and I want the young guys to play. But I know somewhere inside he still could play. I still believe he's got the talent. It's just, does he have the confidence? So that, that's something we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. It's and again, as always, as soon as we start talking about James Bradberry, see, we got comments from people. Half are saying that Bradberry's done, his career's over, he's washed. June 1st, Bradberry's gone.
Right.
And then some people that saying, to your point, is CJ Gardner-Johnson left, he hyped him up, he was helpful. Bradberry will have a comeback from C. Newsom if he gets the chance. So
Yeah.
it's polarizing, and I totally understand it. But you have the young guys, you have the potential. I would like to see them, but again, it's like it's the writing's on the wall. If you're going to start Quinyon Mitchell, there's no way in my mind that you ask or say to James Bradberry, like,
No.
"Hey, you're just going to be a backup." Like, it's either he's a
Right.
starter or you just move on from him. So
If I had
I don't
my
know.
way, he's gone June 1st. See you later. If I
There you
had
go.
my way and my choice, he's gone.
We're
Whether they
we're in
do that,
agreement.
I don't know. Yeah.
If we were the GM of the Birds, which would be
He's
dangerous,
gone.
but if we were the GMs of the Birds,
Right.
it would just feel like, all right, we're making this decision.
Exactly.
Quinyon Mitchell.
We would be awesome. We'd give that team a few Super Bowls, no doubt about it.
We'd
I
have won
trust
last
this.
year. We would for sure have won last year. We
Oh, yeah.
we would have
'Cause-
kept the
yeah.
linebackers. We'd have kept T.J.
That's right.
Edwards.
T.J. Edwards, C.J. Gardner-Johnson
C.J.
never
Gardner-
would have left.
There's so many, right? It would have been awesome.
And I wouldn't have hired Desai. I'll tell you.
That's yeah. Definitely some of the hires that are like questionable, but we all make mistakes, and I'll be the first to say there's a ton of takes and a ton of oh, hey, that's the guy, that's the one to make the difference, and all of a
Right.
sudden it doesn't turn into it. But yeah,
Right.
it's fun playing armchair quarterback. It's just get the
Absolutely.
possibilities and what happens there. So
Yep.
there's a comment here. Fitness Warrior, for a member for 3 months, said, I think once Denard Wilson, this is actually a good point, once Denard Wilson left, all the DBs didn't want to
Yeah.
play for anyone else. Denard Wilson held everyone accountable.
That was the guy that's who I would have made my defensive coordinator. He would have been promoted to defensive coordinator. That was the mistake,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned.
I think you're right, because it seemed like there was definitely momentum for sure, and then it was like, okay, the
Yeah.
Sirianni report. I don't know if they were at odds. It's so hard in the age of misinformation, or the age of information misinformation, however you want to title it, because like, what's the legit report? You have conflicting ones, but still, It was like Slay was for sure sticking up for Denard Wilson, as were several of the other cornerbacks and secondary players. It felt like that would be the shoe, and you kind of did the same thing with Brian Johnson, and that didn't really work out as much. But still, you had a lot of credibility and guys who looked up to him. So it's a good point. If he had been there,
Yeah.
he's got a shot now as defensive coordinator.
Yeah. It'll be
So we'll see.
interesting to see.
We'll see what he does.
Yeah.
But you got talking about the secondary though, and I mean, it feels natural. We have to just go right into I think you coined the phrase, but the Flying Frenchman.
Flying
Cooper
Frenchman,
DeJean.
Cooper DeJean.
Don't
C'est
know
bon.
if DeJean is
right.
French, or
Doesn't
what
matter.
percentage, but it works.
Doesn't matter.
It totally
It doesn't
works.
even matter. As soon as you change his name to DeJean, c'est bon. It sounds French enough to me. It's good enough. Listen, that to me is the steal of the draft. I cannot believe that they were able to get him. What was it, 40 or 41? I forget the exact number, but I think
Yeah.
that was the steal of the draft. I mean, you got two top 20 guys um, in with your first two picks. But I think the key, and this is where I verge from other people. I think the key with DeJean is going to be how do you use him, because I don't think using him just on the outside, though I think he'll be very good on the outside. I think you've got to use him more like a Swiss Army knife, more like a matchup nightmare. Like maybe how the Eagles use Malcolm Jenkins. He's too versatile, too athletic to just stick on the outside corner. I think that wouldn't be using him to his skill set.
It will be like, because we got the report was nickel, or I guess he said on Up and Adams, nickel and
Yeah,
some outside, a little bit of both.
yeah,
But then to your point, there's like some safety potential. Everyone sees it. Everyone talks about
right,
it if he doesn't stick there. But yeah, like
yep,
he said it in the opening presser when he got asked about it. It's like, I'm a football player. Like, what's your position? He's like, I'm a football player. You put
right,
me out there on the field,
right.
gonna make plays,
That's right.
maybe even chance of some special teams work, punt return, kick return, something like that. We'll see. But
Yep.
yeah, he's very talented. I feel like that's the only reason that he slipped so far. Is it's just got to be like, because I've had tons of people like on the shows out just talking to football fans and everything. It's like, hey, what's up with DeJean? Like, why did he fall? What happened there? It's
Right.
like the only thing that I can go to is because every consensus, and I know that the consensus boards are not always perfect. Everyone's 50% hit rate, but still, like there was a lot of consensus on Cooper DeJean, yet he fell to 40. And
Right.
the only thing that I can think is, to your point, like teams are just unsure of how to where do you
Right.
classify him? Is he a corner or is he a
Right.
safety? But why not
Yeah.
both? To your
Exactly.
point, you can use him
Yeah.
all over
Well,
the field.
I could tell you, why when I watched tape on him, I put on a couple of his games, and I said it in my video right after watch. It took me about 25 minutes, and I said this kid's a safety, in my opinion, more than a cornerback.
Hmm.
I think you're right. I think teams don't know how exactly to use them. But I think the Eagles are in a really good position. Here, think about this for a second, right? Let's say you have, for argument's sake, let's say Mitchell takes over for Bradberry. You have Slay on the outside, right?
Hmm.
Now, there are people who think Isaiah Rodgers is another outside corner. I don't. I think the only place you can play Isaiah Rodgers is in the slot. So he's going to be in the slot. Now, if you stick DeJean, if you stick him on the outside, he's what? But behind Ringo now? So you're essentially basically putting DeJean away for the whole year. He's going to be sitting on the bench, not a lot of play. If you really want to get him on the field, to me, you got to put him at safety. You got to put him back there with C.J. Gardner-Johnson right away. Now, I know a lot of people like Reed Blankenship. I like him, but I don't like him as much as I like DeJean. So, to me, if you want to get him on the field, and this is what I think is the main part of this whole draft, is you've got to get these young guys on the field. See, when you go out and you get Saquon Barkley and you create an offense that's as good as their offense is, that allows your defense to play the young guys and kind of learn on the fly, because your offense can kind of carry you. So to me, if they don't have DeJean out there and they don't have Mitchell out there, I think they're wasting a whole year of time.
Hmm.
Get him on the field and put him into safety, uh, and then have Mitchell on the outside, Isaiah Rodgers in the slot, and then Slay. With C.J. Gardner-Johnson, I think that's a tremendous defensive secondary.
There's a lot of potential, and it's crazy too as you just like go through the list of names there. It's like, if 6 months ago, even less than that, if you had told me that we're going to have a problem about having too much depth in the secondary, I would have said you're crazy, because
Right,
there's so many holes, so many issues. Who do you have? Who are you going to bring in? Is Howie going to
right,
draft a corner? If he is, how early is it going to be? Will it be a significant impact player? All those types of storylines. And yet
yeah,
we're sitting here, and every single 53 prediction that you look at is different. Like, you're only going to keep so many cornerbacks, and not everyone can agree on who's that going to be.
right,
Where's DeJean classified? Is he a safety? Does somebody get left off
right.
on that side? There's it's a great problem to have, but it's just crazy to
It
say
is.
that the Philadelphia Eagles are in a position like
Somebody's getting traded. Somebody's getting traded. It's just the way it is. Now, I,
yeah.
I think a lot of my wanting to put him at safety, I don't just want to keep him at safety. I want DeJean to be a player that eventually is going to be like, all right, your matchups on the outside this week, play it. You're out. Your matchup is a tight end this week. Play it. Your matchup is in the slot this week. Play it. Like I want to move him all around according to basically like a lot like the Eagles used Malcolm Jenkins back in the day towards the end of his career. That's how I want to use him. But I also think Ringo, or I'm hopeful, I think he could be an outside corner, a starting one in this league.
Yeah.
So I want to get him on the field too. I would like Mitchell and Ringo on the outside. I like DeJean as my Swiss Army knife. Isaiah Rodgers in the slot. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, steady safety. I think you're good, man. I think you're really good in the secondary.
I do too. I'm totally agreeing with you as well. And it's also one of those, because I love that you brought up Kelee Ringo. He made some progress. It took him a while to get on the field, which is perfectly fine. Hey, you're not rushing it necessarily. Now, we had lots of issues to begin with, but still, like, you get on the field, you match up against some guys. A.J. Brown said he's got all-pro potential. I know it's potential, but if A.J. Brown is going far enough to say that about a specific player, I'm not saying that's just complete smoke, because he doesn't just say that about every single secondary player. He's like, hey, Kelee Ringo has it. He's just got to find it mentally. He has that potential. So I think he can. And then also it's like, my question, I guess, too, would be, now that Kelee Ringo has this NFL experience, if he were to have been in this past NFL draft, how early would he have gone? Much earlier than last year, for sure. But he's 21 years old. Like, he's younger than Quinyon Mitchell. Like, so the potential there is insane. And yeah, if he's maybe even this year, you know what? It's kind of still of a learning year. He doesn't have to be inserted too many times. It's a depth piece if there's someone that gets injured. But to your point, over the long haul, I mean, it could legit end up being Quinyon Mitchell and Kelee Ringo are your outside corners. Like, they could very much do that, because he has all the tools in his body, is how he likes to say. But like, he's got that potential. So I'm excited. It's a very, very good thing to have. Like I say, the depth problem. We're kind of like the Houston Texans, I guess, for their version of wide receivers. I don't know why they keep signing wide receivers when they have so many, but they're just
they're looking for something, that's for sure. But I like it. I like where we're at. I even like Eli Ricks, and I don't know if he can even make this team. So they've got a lot of good secondary pieces, but I just really hope that they use them correctly. And I really mean the fine Frenchman. Like, I think just putting him on the outside is just wasting him away. I really do. I think he could be so much more than that.
Yeah. I think so. I'm excited. That is one of those, you said steal of the draft, certainly way up there in terms of everyone's minds, but also just the potential, see where he actually, ends up playing. And also too, I mean, if anyone has not already seen it, I'm sure they have, but if you're not, the Flying Frenchman t-shirts are pretty awesome. So go check out Philly 500 channel there. It is,
That's it.
They're what? They're not, like, I guess it's pre-order. They're not available yet.
Pre-order, right? I think they start going out next. Yeah, they're going out next.
Okay.
We'll wait to figure out what his number was before we started shipping it.
Sure. So makes sense.
Yeah.
So yes.
Make
sure and go do that. Also, I got a link in the description too. Make sure to sub. Congrats, by the way. I sent a message, but we haven't talked about it. But you blew past 100,000 subs. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Not a surprise, but incredible.
Yeah.
So, has YouTube sent the plaque? Are they going to send it yet, or do you?
Yeah, no, I got the plaque. I haven't hung it up yet. I keep delaying. I keep doing it, but yeah, it's over there in the corner waiting.
That's the trophy.
But yeah,
that's the trophy,
baby. It's crazy, man. Who knew? My live streams really helped me this past season. They're the reason why I got it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I was like, man, every time I was looking over and it's like, there it is. Hey, hit 100, just skyrocketed there. But it's no surprise. Very, very well deserved. Very well deserved. So kudos to you.
Appreciate that.
All right, let's see. As far as, because again, we already talked about the first two, but how about this is maybe, it's interesting, right? Like, so the first two picks feels like the steals of the draft. You got a Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, and then this other one is kind of like private Christian college that's much smaller than a lot of high schools player that went there, Jalix Hunt. There's lots of potential. Fangio said that he, liked him, one of his top players in the draft, sees versatility, all that. But that was one where, I'm going to be honest, I had watched a decent amount of tape, more so than I ever would have. Shout out to Anthony DeBona, PFN, who had mentioned him first, and was like, okay, I need to probably go check him out. So when they picked him, I was like, all right, I can get behind this, but it's still one of those where there's a difference of, say, small school in Toledo and then small
Right.
school in Houston Christian.
Right.
So where are you at
Yeah.
with Jalen Hunt and
Whoa, man.
what's
I'll
he
be
gonna do?
honest with you. I didn't watch 1 second of Jalen Hunt. I didn't even know who he was. Um, I was shocked at the time that they drafted him, not because of the position, but just because of who he was. I thought Howie was going to go back and draft SEC, and here he drafts this guy. But I got to tell you, after listening to this kid in the press conference, I think there's something about him, and I can't pinpoint it. It's like an it factor, but there's something about him that I'm like, I get why they drafted him there. I totally get it. Now, will he develop or not? I don't know, but there's something about this kid from hearing him talk. Uh, I think he's got something. So we'll see if they can get it out of him. But overall, at the time, I was shocked. But I like the pick more and more after hearing him speak.
Yeah, it feels like, and this could be one where it's like the temper, some expectations possibly, because it's more of a, it's a longer route. He's got the 2 years
Right.
of playing as a defensive lineman before that being a safety. So you like the versatility. Like the first thing that jumped out to me whenever I was watching this film was, all right, when he moves out into coverage, he looks like a safety because he was a safety, but you don't see that a lot of
Right.
times from a defensive end because they'll move out there, and we saw it with,
Right.
Desai and Patricia trying to move Reddick and Josh Sweat back into coverage.
Right.
It looked terrible and looked very uncomfortable. But with Jalen Hunt, you don't have that issue. He's much more seasoned in that spot. So to your point, it's how long does it take? It may be a full season, it may be a couple seasons even. But with
Right.
what he has and his potential and his athleticism, he could be very good, certainly in a Fangio scheme. It's a lot of things that come into play, as we all know. But you got to have the player, have the scheme, have the versatility, and Fangio mentioned it so much. But I'm very hopeful. I think that he could be extremely underrated when all is said and done. But
Yeah.
again, that's the projections is everything about the draft. So who really knows? But that was definitely not one of those that had as much of the feelings, let's just say, as the first, like, oh, you
No.
got Quinyon, oh, you got Cooper DeJean, and then it's wrap up night 2 and go, all right, well,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Could be solid. Not going to be an immediate impact player, probably, but his big pimpin' comment to Howie was that was pretty sweet. That
That
made me
was
laugh.
great. Yeah. Yeah, that was hilarious.
Brings
Howie
the
will never
personality.
live that down. No, never.
No, he won't. Not at all. I think, is it that the do you have another? Did I see another
Yeah,
shirt on that one too? I was
we
gonna say
just
you got.
released we just released the big pimpin' Howie Roseman shirt too. Yeah,
There you
that's
go.
on
Okay.
pre-order right now.
I was gonna say it's hard to keep with all the merch. I saw the Flying Frenchman. I thought that I
know.
remembered seeing the big pimpin', but it's
Yeah,
great. You have to
that-
take advantage of those things. So
That's been the most requested thing I've had. I get like 4 or 5 messages a day. When's the big pimpin' shirts coming out? Big pimpin' shirts. I'm like, all right, if you guys want it, we'll do it.
that's awesome. I love that. Did you guys design those? I'm curious. Did you guys design those yourselves?
No,
or do
I
you
have, I
somebody?
I have somebody that is designing. He designs and he does all the shirts. He does all the legwork
yeah.
with that. So, yeah.
That was legit.
He's
Well,
pretty
kudos to
Yeah.
whoever that is. 'Cause that was pretty sweet. So again, go check it out.
Yeah.
Philly's channel. Got the post there for the pre-order. Let me throw this super chat up here from Justin. Justin, appreciate the 5, dude. Said, hear me out. Slay and Mitchell on the outside. Let Bradberry have first crack at slot, and then play DeJean at safety for this year. What do you think about that?
Love it. I love it. Yeah, that's exactly what I would like to see, because to me that would get both those guys on the field all year long to play, to get snaps. Yeah, I love it. I love that idea.
Even Bradberry, a second go at the slot. That's is that okay? You like that? I mean,
Bradberry in slot, no. You can't put Bradberry in slot. Isaiah Rodgers is in the slot. See, I think Rodgers is a slot guy for them. Even though he didn't play a lot of it, I think they think he can play it. I think that's why Avonte Maddox was cut, because of Rodgers. So I think you have to put Rodgers there. If you do put Mitchell there, you got to either bench Bradberry or cut him. I don't think you could do anything else.
I love, I'm with you. I love the idea. and Justin knows this. Justin's a huge Michigan fan too. So whenever the Trevor Keegan pick happened, that was for sure his guy. Which we'll talk about Trevor Keegan and the. I don't think that there's. Let me just say this. I'm already getting off on a tangent, but I think Trevor Keegan is the most photogenic for any like YouTube thumbnails out of any draft pick. I mean, you got the face paint, you got the war paint, the intensity, everything else.
Yeah.
And I was going from him,
Right.
and then no offense to Dylan McMahon, but like. It felt like poverty going from Trevor Keegan to Dylan McMahon
Right.
trying to look at the YouTube thumbnails because you're like, one of those is very easy, and the other one is like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right, we got to work with
I know,
something here.
right?
So
Yeah. Yeah.
you got to love
I
it.
know.
But no, I agree with the comment though of Slay and Quinyon Mitchell. If you could go outside with them and then slot. I kind of go back and forth because I do agree with you to a certain extent as far as can Isaiah Rodgers play slot. I think he's got the ability. He hasn't done it to your point, but I think that it wouldn't be a stretch to see and ask him because he's got the quickness, he's got the athleticism. I think he could learn it. But do you have it's going to be so interesting because as we said, like there's going to be guys that are cut that's probably surprising. There's probably going to be a trade or two that's like, oh, wow, didn't exactly expect that person to be traded or moved on. But because you have so much depth, and I don't know, does Avonte Maddox, as injury prone as he is,
I think he's gone.
does he, you think he's still cut? You think he just doesn't make it?
Yeah. Well, here's the question I'll ask you. I believe Isaiah Rodgers could start outside on a lot of teams. I think he could start. If he's an outside corner, right, then, and let's say you keep Bradberry and you have Slay, Bradberry, Mitchell, Isaiah Rodgers, Ringo. How does a guy like Mitchell or DeJean even see the field this year? Because to me, the guy who would be most ready to go in and play right away on the outside would be Isaiah Rodgers. It just seems like they have way too many outside guys. I think one of those guys got to move in, and to me, it would have to be Rodgers. Otherwise, you're going to bury DeJean and Mitchell in a depth chart, and they're not going to play that much at all. I think that would suck.
Yeah. The rookies do need to play. I am totally on board with you there. Howie said it right. He was kind of referencing to Sirianni or the conversation that they had, and like we've talked about it. You know, we said these rookies, these guys that I drafted, basically need to get in there and get some more action. So it's a great luxury, and I love what the point that you made too. Is like the offense is. I mean, they certainly should. Maybe it doesn't end up happening as much, but it should be like drastically carried by the offense. And so, yeah, you have the luxury, I suppose, is maybe the best way to phrase it, but the luxury to make mistakes on defense. Now, it'll hopefully slowly get shored up, but I look at us almost like Kansas City 2 years ago. The offense got them to the Super Bowl, but by the time that they got to, I'd say not the Super Bowl because they were getting torched by us, but at least in the playoffs, then you said, hey, the younger guys, the younger corners that they had, the younger guys on the defense started to gel, and then Spagnuolo had them ready to play. That would be my hope for our defense as well. It's like, hey, you got a lot of young guys, get them the reps, get them the game time, and then all of a sudden, by the time you make it to the playoffs, then, all right, you know what? Hey, defense can actually step up and do some things for you. And then you see a difference for last season of, I mean, the Chiefs don't win without their defense. The defense was lights out. Offense is dropping passes, turnovers, all this other stuff. It's like very uncharacteristics. But, you know, kudos to the defense because they won it for them.
But that's my thinking. I mean, that's how I would approach it. I mean, wouldn't it have been nice to get Nolan Smith a lot more reps and a lot better look at him than where we are right now, where we're going to count on him so much, yet he really didn't do a lot. So I think getting out there and getting those guys on the field this year, it'll pay dividends at the end of the year. It'll pay dividends going into next year. So that's what I think. Going out and getting Saquon Barkley, that's what it opens up to you. It opens up the ability to do some things like that on your defense and let your offense carry you. So I hope they take advantage of that.
Yeah, I got to ask too, just because, you know, talking about Saquon or on the topic here, was that really surprising to you first off? And I guess if so, how surprising was it the fact that, you know, we actually got Saquon and
No, I called it about 2.5 weeks before they did it.
Okay.
Because I just remember things that Howie said. Like, you know, they tried to get Christian McCaffrey. And he's talked about running backs that do everything and that, you know, guys that do everything are not just running back. They don't view them as running back. They view them as a weapon. And when I started thinking about it, thinking about how do you really get this team back with all the things you're going to need on defense, the best thing you could do is sometimes to make your strength even stronger. And getting Barkley did that, which freed up everything else that has taken place, in my opinion. That Barkley signing allowed everything else to happen, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So it didn't surprise me that they did. It just made a lot of sense to me. And I'll say this. I think they should look at Cooper DeJean the same way that they look at Barkley, not as a cornerback, but as a weapon on defense. And but it wasn't like I kind of had a feeling he was going to do it. So yeah, I wasn't too surprised.
There you go. You called it. You called it. Two weeks before.
Yeah.
It's I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'll own up to it. I know there were a lot of people that were doubting and in disbelief. Even so, because I got a lot of comments as well. It's like, I'm saying this is not going to happen. Like, how he's not going to invest in running back, at least to that extent, right? Like
Right.
going after
Yeah.
a Saquon and paying all the money that he did on that side. But he ended up obviously going that route. It just felt like, if he's going to invest, it'd be, yeah, kind of the middle tier ish, if that. But I really kept going to. I'm like, you know what? It's probably going to be someone in the draft. You either draft someone or you do a draft day trade similar
Right.
to DeAndre Swift, and then you're like, oh hey, we're back in the similar ish stance that we had before
Right.
because it worked. And so I kept being, regardless of as even it started heating up and going, hey, the Eagles are showing interest. The Eagles are showing. I was holding firm to like, nope, this is not going to happen. There's no
Yeah.
chance, zero chance, and then it did. So
Yeah.
completely wrong. But I was glad to be wrong because who doesn't want
Right.
Saquon
Right.
Barkley on this offense? I just didn't feel like it happened.
I just thought like, gosh, here's a guy that like people trash him and stuff, but I've always liked Saquon back when he played at Penn State, and I just look at the Giants. I mean, they're awful quarterback,
God.
awful offensive line. They haven't. He's played only one season. Only his rookie year was the only year they had a receiver over 700 yards. Had 1,000 yards was back.
Mm-hmm.
He's had literally nothing around him. Now he's going to go to a team with a good offensive line, wide receivers, a quarterback. I think Barkley makes as much of an impact as McCaffrey made for the 49ers. That's what I think he's going to do.
That is saying so. I'm hopeful. I do think that he makes a very big impact. And I guess to your point, like when you really think about it, I mean, it's not only because the obvious is like, okay, hey, you bring him in here, like you're saying, difference between New York to the Philly offense. He's going to have an O-line who can block for him. You got other weapons, but it's also like Kellen Moore's system. Yes, it's going to be
Right.
more of passing than running. I think everyone understands that, but there's still the run game involved, and you can throw
Right.
it to Saquon. He can pass protect better than any runner that you had previously, so that'll be a
Right.
benefit to Jalen.
That's true.
And then also you got the pick your poison because beforehand it was like, I mean, I don't know what was it. We lined up in the gun like 89% of the time or something. It's just a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
Well, hey, there's the Eagles. They're out there in the gun again. Now it's going to be different formations. So if the defense says, oh, hey, you know what? We're going to try to stop Saquon. You load the box with 8. Then
Right.
you will take the slant to AJ, or we'll take the go
Right.
to Devontae, or insert, if it's Anaya Smith, maybe as wide receiver 3, or whoever wins out that
Hopefully.
job. So there's so much potential with the offense. And then if all of a sudden you want to take away the passing game, you get it in a light box, then there you go. There's your handoff to Saquon. So I do hope that it ends up being a Christian McCaffrey effect. I think it's going to be very, very effective. But that's the part in my mind where I'm like, I don't know if it's going to hit me. Even these hype videos, like we've seen the Jalen little slow-mo handoff to Saquon in camp and everything. But
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if it's going to hit me until I doubt maybe he'll play a little bit in preseason. I guess Sirianni likes to usually see his runners get like a carry, but I don't know why you would risk that like with Saquon. So it may not hit me until the first game of the regular season
On a Friday.
Yeah, whenever I'm like, there's the
Friday.
handoff to Saquon. It's gonna be wild. But yes, to
It
your
is.
point, on a
It's gonna be
Friday.
fun.
Did you like that, by the way?
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. It's on Peacock on a Friday in Brazil, and it's a home game versus Green Bay. No,
Oh,
it
my
couldn't be
gosh.
worse. I mean, Green Bay is going to be good, so I
Yeah.
think that's a tough game that you would have liked to play at home. Then to play on a Friday now means I have to take vacation time off of work. So Yeah, I
It's
don't
the
like it
double
all
negative.
around. It really is.
Yeah, I'm with you. I hated it. So my wife is from Wisconsin, so she's a Packers fan. So there's extra element that I'm dealing with there, and then her whole
Yeah.
family are cheeseheads as well. But the idea
Oh,
was we were going to go to Philly. We were going to watch whenever they played Green Bay because I was like, hey, it's going to be prime time for sure. It will be a prime
right.
time game, and I'm thinking Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football in Philly. And then, at first the leak was the Cleveland Browns. Like I was thinking, yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sure. You know what? Go play
Yeah.
Cleveland in Brazil, whatever.
Right.
And then it's like, wait a minute, no, it might be Green Bay. And then when they officially confirmed it, yeah, I'm
I
same
know.
same reaction. Are you kidding me? It's got to be. It's not only that it's the opener, it's not only that it's Green Bay, it's Friday. It's
Friday.
only on Peacock,
I know.
and or I guess unless you're local, but it's.
Yeah.
I know that they're pushing it, but everyone's gonna watch. You could have lined up any team to play on a Friday night, and people are gonna watch it because it's
Right.
a Friday night game, and so people are, oh, hey, this is interesting. Sure, like it's the
I know.
first or second game, I guess, because it'll be after the Thursday night game. But I
And
was
it
totally against it.
and it counts as a home game.
Yeah,
It's our
yeah.
home opener. And it's just, and it's Green Bay, who's good. I hate it. They better not give us a Christmas Day game or a
Oh
Christmas Eve
gosh.
game.
Oh my
I
gosh.
I
Please
I
no.
I don't want any more of those either. I'm about done with that, man. That you're not supposed to mess with my Christmas. You don't. That's,
that,
you know,
that was
don't mess with.
brutal. That was brutal last year. You're like, okay, really? You're gonna stream on a Christmas day because we got to go watch this
Yeah,
game here? It's like love
I
the
know.
love the games, but messing with family time and traveling and everything else. So
Yeah,
I'm just like, I don't know. I did to your point. It's even if you're going to lose a home game of sorts, it's like it makes a little bit more sense. But if you're going to do it on an NFC opponent,
right. A
it's
good
bigger
team.
ramifications. A good team, I
Yeah.
don't know. And what's it's been. Hasn't it been like 5 or 6 years since Philly's legit opened like a first game of week one, a home opener in Philly, right? Because it's been
I
at
don't even
least
think about that.
Detroit,
Yeah, I can't.
um,
Detroit,
and then uh,
Atlanta was
yep.
the year before.
So it's
Yeah, Atlanta, and then I'm trying to think. In Doug's last year, I can't remember what it was. Well, we had New
yeah,
England last year, right? It was in New
right,
England.
yeah, yeah.
The year before was in Atlanta. Um, what was the one before that? That would have been. Yeah, I don't remember. That's I think Doug's last year. I don't remember. I think it was Washington. I think we opened up in Washington. We
Okay,
opened
yeah,
up in
yeah.
Washington 2017, and I think in 2020. I can't remember. It's all it's all blended in.
I know.
But
I'm with
yeah,
you. I'm looking to search. Yeah, it was Washington. You're right. And then 2019
no,
was let's see, that was 2020. So yeah, 2019 was the last time. It was Washington. 2020 was Washington away, and then 2019 was Washington at home. So
yeah,
and we won't get it this year. So it'll be next year, surely. You finally get a week one home opener. So
right,
what we'll be talking about 2025, 6 years, six
yeah,
years. You gotta wait six
yeah.
years for your
Well,
first week
we'll
one
be
home
playing.
opener.
We'll be playing on Thursday that year. We'll be hanging up our
There
banner,
you go.
hopefully.
Yes, and I'll be fine with that. Everyone will be okay with that.
Yes,
You know what? We gotta
exactly.
take a weekday. That's a good reason to have
100%.
one. So no, it's the as far as the because we talk about also the impact players and Jalix Hunt. Who knows? Maybe
Hmm.
not as much immediately, but there's still some other draft picks that I think that I got a hint of it, I suppose, from your reaction. But wide receiver 3 is going to be more impactful than last season. Let's just say that. I mean, Alameda Zaccheaus had 10 catches all year long. If you want to say he was wide
Yeah.
receiver 3 or Quez, but Quez was injured and Quez has moved on. We don't have to really necessarily get into Quez, but you have wide receiver 3 options, and in Kellen Moore's offense, who is your favorite out of right now? Rookies, new signings. Who are you going?
Anaya
Wide receiver
Smith.
3. Yeah.
Anaya Smith. I'm not. I don't feel comfortable with the wide receivers. I don't look at Devontae Parker and believe that he's a number 3. I don't even know that I think Paris Campbell is the number 3. I don't. I see those guys as fourth and fifth wide receivers. So I'm hoping Anaya Smith wins it. Um, I don't really like anything behind Anaya Smith, to be honest with you. I think this is the one issue and the one area that I would like to see the Eagles do something about on offense still. And I'm hoping maybe they do something at camp or whatever, but I don't feel comfortable right now. Besides, I like Anaya Smith. I think he's going to be good. The question is, how ready will he be going into this season? I don't really like the third wide receiver so far.
Yeah, I've kind of gone back and forth on that. There's limited potential ish, but to your point, like maybe if you're possibly going to trade one of your corners anyway, because we have so much depth, maybe you find a team that
Right.
needs a corner, you
Yeah.
trade for a receiver. If
Yeah.
out of the plethora of wide receivers that Houston has acquired, if one of those maybe does not work out as well, you could
Yeah.
look at those as options.
Yeah.
Maybe a Noah Brown or a Mechie or someone like that. Maybe.
Right.
Do you like any of the Texans options there in Noah
I
Brown or
like
Mechie?
I like Mechie. I like Mechie.
Yeah.
I take a chance of him. Noah Brown, keep him the hell away from us.
No way.
I don't want nothing to do with him.
Not interested, even
But
though there's a connection with
no,
Kellen Moore. Not interested.
no, I
No.
don't want
Okay.
anything to do with him. But we'll see. The thing is they're probably thinking we're going to take a look at what we have. Let's see what Devontae Parker has left. I don't think he has much left. He looks very slow to me, and I think he's better on the outside anyways. Campbell, yeah, he's got some speed. Maybe he could be the guy. But I really think that Anaya Smith, I'm hoping he kind of comes in and runs with it, man. That would be the best case scenario.
Yeah. He's got a lot of to your point, like the yards after catch and what shows up on the tape is certainly like the speed and the acceleration. Shout out to Lonely B also saying that it's a good bringing up of the shin splints from the past year, the shin injury that he had. So he ran a 40 time, said he would have had a 4.3, I guess, or could have. Who knows? But I mean, if you watch the film, he looks faster than like what you actually see for 40 time run and everything there. So I like it. The thing to me too, and this is, I said we weren't going to get into Quez, but maybe we'll slightly get into Quez. The thing for me is that like one of the biggest emphasis before the draft is that, hey, look, here's a top 30 visit, right? So automatically we go, well, this is worthwhile because we know top 30 visits are important. And so then you start, watching them, and immediately, like every single different scouting report that I'm looking up and as I'm watching Anaya Smith is, and you can see it on the tape, but it's competitiveness. It's passion, it's work ethic, it's nonstop. And I'm like, well, that doesn't describe who we have on the team here. So I'm totally in favor of, if you want to get this guy and bring him to the team. So now that he's here, and the fact that Kellen Moore is going to utilize a wide receiver 3, I don't think anyone's going out there and saying, oh, hey, he's going to, get 750 yards or even anywhere close to that, because you have so many weapons. But it's still the fact, like, if his number is called, or if, let's say, for example, we run a little bubble screen to him and there's an open lane to run for a first down, you remember which game that was that Quez Watkins decided to just hop out of bounds. You won't see that from him. So, it's just, the differences of what we're going to get. But I'm excited. I'm hopeful for him. Sub-Zero is the nickname too, so he doesn't have the zero number, obviously. But
I like the kid. It's just going to be a question of how ready he can be for this season. I think down the road he's definitely a perfect slot receiver for us. But we'll like you said, we'll see.
Yeah, there's lots as far as again, impacts for the wide receiver position, and then also we're talking about Saquon Barkley. I think this is a troll, so for what it's worth, but someone was saying that they thought Swift was brought a little bit more something to the offense than Saquon, so that feels trollish.
Well, if they really think that, I really don't think they'll think that by week 2 or 3.
I would agree.
For whatever reason, you could say, look, I like DeAndre Swift, I do, but they didn't use
for
him.
Sure.
Right. I mean, they didn't use him, and the only reason I can think that they didn't was because they didn't think he would last the whole year. So, to me, now you're getting a guy that unquestionably should last the whole year. I know he's had injuries in the past, but, hopefully those are behind him now.
Did Dennis Designs says, I want the big guy, Hurts can't miss him. I think he's talking about... You're talking about Johnny Wilson? Was that a comment? Yeah, I want that tall pick wide receiver 3, Johnny Wilson. I mean, I like
Six
Johnny
foot
Wilson's
six.
potential. I don't know
Yeah.
about wide receiver 3.
I think I look at Johnny Wilson as a guy to come in, make the practice squad, and see what he can develop into over the course of a few years. I don't think we're seeing him as a guy that plays right away. But I mean, we'll see when they get on the field. We won't know.
True.
You know.
Yeah. He's got the physical tools, or a
Yeah.
lot of them, because I mean, it's like, to your point, it's insane. 6'6",
Yeah.
235. It is funny because every time every time that I hear someone talk about him, it feels like he gets a little bit bigger in terms of like, hey, 6'6", 6'7",
Right.
6'8", 230,
Right.
240 pounds, like,
Right.
but maybe there's the thought, I guess, throwing it out there is like, do you possibly use him as at tight end? The thing is, he doesn't block, or hasn't really, and there's not a lot of great blocking. We've seen instances of that in the past of going like, hey, there's a reason someone can't get on the field for a tight end. So I'm kind of with you. It does feel like this is a longer term projection. Maybe he ends up
Yeah.
having to play a little bit if you have someone injured, or you're up
Right.
by a mile and you just say, hey, let's insert him if he's even active on that day. But
Yeah.
he's got a lot to like for the fact that, I mean, he was like basically as fast as AJ Brown on the 40 and
Right.
jumped a half inch higher than AJ. So,
Yeah.
so athletically, it's insane.
Yeah, I think he's a wide receiver, and from what I've read, the Eagles have no plans to move him to tight end, and I wouldn't either. I say take advantage of his skill set as a receiver.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you do. There's comments in the past too of like, do you develop specific? Because I think that he needs time to grow. But do you develop any specific packages for him? Red zone presence with his size and everything, or is it?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know about right away. I mean, like you said, you have so many weapons with Devontae, with AJ. You got Goddard. We got how are we going to get enough balls to go around to all these guys, as well as Saquon Barkley receiving out of the backfield. So I think that there's enough guys on there that I don't know that they'll do that right away.
Yeah.
But I think if he goes to training camp and starts turning heads, and they're like, well, we got to get this guy on the field, well, then, that changes everything. But until that, we don't know.
Yeah, true. And even, even at training camp, we don't for sure know, because we've had
You don't know.
we've had players that tore it up in training camp and then did not end up doing anything on the field, So as much as we will say that, but it's unfortunate. You still don't know until they actually. That's why they play the game, as the saying goes.
Yeah.
We brushed over it. I actually skipped over it unintentionally, but the next in the progression of picks was Will Shipley. But since we were talking about Anaya Smith for a bit, that's an interesting one to me. I'm gonna just I'll say it because a lot of people know this, but I was not necessarily. I shouldn't say, I didn't dislike it. Let me just say I didn't dislike the pick, but that was one of those where we were at the draft. It's kind of like, all right, I'm trying to get behind this. I know we need a depth piece because Kenny Gainwell's got 1 year left on the contract. You may not love the other options of. You're just right. That's not the only one of thinking that.
I'm done.
But Will Shipley, what were your thoughts of specifically?
I
Will
was
Shipley?
thinking right away. My first thoughts was, is he better than Kenneth Gainwell? Because if I could get Kenneth Gainwell off the field, I'm happy. And I know people think I'm crazy, but I just don't know what he does well, and I'm hoping that this kid's better. My immediate, I didn't know a lot about Will Shipley. I've watched some stuff on him. I think there's some talent there. There's something to work with, and I think he's good enough that maybe he could be the number 2 at some point during the year. So I like it. I didn't mind it because I knew we needed a running back, but I just want them to replace Gainwell. I'm done with Gainwell, man.
So for that reason, yeah, it's it was. I don't know if you got a little bit of a kick out of this, but the whole like weightlifting that they or the lift off between Sidney Brown. Did you see the video there that Sidney was able to hold on to the weights longer than him, that contest? I was kind of like, I was. Yeah. There was a lot of comments whenever I shared the video and I tweeted about it. Unsurprisingly, there were a lot more people that were saying, "Oh, I'm glad that Sidney Brown beat out Kenny Gainwell there." So it feels like the sympathy and the feelings of like, all right, let's change some things up. I don't know that
You know, I don't. I'm not trying to trash Gainwell. I like Gainwell as a person, but like why are you taking out uh DeAndre Swift on third downs and you put Gainwell in there? And then people say, oh, because Gainwell's a better blocker. And then what does he do? He gives up. He can't block anybody. I hated the fact that they used Gainwell the way that they did. I just, I know he had a good playoff run a couple of years ago, but I just don't think he's that good. I
Yeah.
just don't, you know.
It's the backfield of Tony Pollard and Kenny Gainwell. It's the Memphis days,
Let's go,
right?
Will Shipley. Come on, Shipley, baby. I'm a Shipley
He's
fan.
yeah, by default. You just, all right, there's Will
That's
Shipley,
it.
baby. That is RB2.
So,
It would be super surprising, I guess, if you were to see that. But Sirianni, as we know, he's a big Gainwell fan. So I'm curious,
Right.
before we move on to some of the other draft picks, that's a huge element of this whole thing. And in my opinion, a huge element of whether this works or not is how much or how little Sirianni's got to be involved in this offense. Is there anything, and it's extremely early on, but is there anything from what Kellen Moore said or from this offseason, even the conversation Jeffrey Lurie, confidence level in Sirianni, or I guess maybe the lack of Sirianni micromanaging the offense?
I think he's neutered, man. I think he doesn't even look comfortable in the press conferences. Like, what does he do? He's not going to run the defense. He's not going to run the offense. I think Kellen Moore was trying to be really nice yesterday in how he put certain things. I think he'll be a manager, I guess, but I don't think he has that much influence. My biggest fear with the coaching staff right now is that Kellen Moore is going to go out and be great, and they're going to have a great year, and then he's going to get a head coaching job, and then we're going to be on to another offensive coordinator. I'm willing to fire Sirianni and promote Kellen Moore just to keep him if he has a good year. I know they would never do that, but I just
could
don't
you
think,
imagine?
I don't. Yeah, I would have.
Eagles have won
him.
the Super Bowl, and 2 weeks later,
Yeah.
it's like, hey, Sirianni, Kellen Moore's getting these
See you later.
interviews. We're just going to go ahead and let you go.
Every time we have a good offensive coordinator, they go right away.
Yeah,
I go back to you go back to Brad Childress, good year gone. John Gruden, good year gone. Steichen, good year gone. Frank Reich, good year gone. Every time we have a good corner one year, they go. So I'm tired of it. I like I don't dislike Nick Sirianni as a guy or a football coach. I just don't know what power he has left. That's all.
My favorite clip to use, because again, everybody knows, but I use a lot of movie clips in the shows and stuff. My favorite clip to use was from Office Space, and it's the what do you do here? It's like, what exactly does Sirianni? It's a glorified cheerleader, and I think that he seems like a really good guy. I like him as a person. To your point, like a Kenny Gainwell, I like him as a person, but when push comes to shove, I'm totally on board with you of saying for a number of times, it's like, if it comes down to it, I'll accept the fact. I mean, I think everyone will. But if we win a Super Bowl and we lose Kellen Moore, then all right, we won a Super Bowl. But it's not a long-term set yourself up to be a potential, chance for the Super Bowl every single year, because you're back to square one. Because to me, it goes one of two ways. You miss the playoffs and Sirianni gets fired, and then okay, you know what? Hey, maybe Kellen Moore can just get promoted into the head coaching job, and you're good. But I don't want a losing season. Like, I want to win it. We've got all these weapons. We should maximize it now. But either that happens, or to your point, you have a very successful season, and then someone goes, hey, look, there's Kellen Moore, and we're going to go ahead and poach him now because we see the potential that he has. And then we're back to the head coach or the offensive coordinator search, and we'll do this whole thing again because Sirianni's not the guy who can bring in the offensive scheme. He's always going to have to rely on the offensive coordinator. Yeah. So I'm with you.
Yeah. Hopefully, no wide receiver screens. I don't need 4 wide receiver screens in a row. I'm so tired of the wide receiver screens that never work, where you make Devontae Smith block. It's just like
it's the worst.
It was brutal.
I
would
really
have fired Nick Sirianni. I would have fired him. You're talking a historic collapse.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're going to do 30 for 30 episodes. I'm waiting for the 30 for 30.
Yeah.
Like, because you were 10-1, and you didn't even win your division, and I just don't know how the coach comes back from that. But I guess the players like him, so we'll see. I mean, we'll see. It's
Yeah.
just it baffles me though. It really does.
It does. There's a fitness warrior here saying y'all always clowning Nick, even though he was top 5 in situational management, which is hard to do in the NFL. That's his job.
Well, when
he manages the
situational
team.
management is the push, right? Is the Philly shove. That's it. When you have 90-something% on that, it's going to make everything better.
But
I don't buy it.
What did it for me? I guess it was still probably before this. Just to your point, when we're seeing these screens, just unending screen passes that go nowhere and all this other stuff. But what did it for me was ultimately whenever we're in the playoff game and you have a 3rd and 1, and we decide to not run the tush push or the brotherly shove like that.
Yeah.
That was like, I'm sorry, what are we doing? Everyone knows we should be running that play because it's automatic, and you're not going to. So that was more than enough. I was like, this is totally wheels off. It had already been wheels off, but I was, I don't know, holding out hope that somehow we would have done something in the playoff game because I
know
I was clinging to, it was terrible, like false hope. But I was like, no, we're gonna get this thing on track. Everyone's gonna play. They're gonna rally for Jason because it's probably his last game. Let's make this thing happen. And we all know how terrible it was, but
it's brutal.
It'll be better. It's gonna be
ending. Oh yeah, it'll be
much
better now that
now.
we have coaches that know what to do. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you got guys who it's not only they know what to do, but I think it's a huge element for like the respect in the locker room, because you had the reports of like were the players potentially being able to get along with some of the coordinators, and did they buy in? Were they able to earn that respect and everything? Because I think everybody would probably agree with this, but respect is earned, not given. So you got to go in there and prove it, and it was obvious, blatantly obvious, I think, to everyone, but that didn't happen this past year. So you have guys that, I mean, they have a much better resume. So it's kind of like that respect is somewhat earned just based on their past success. And, it's like everybody says, but future results are usually indicative of or future performance is usually indicative of past results or past performance. So I think for that very reason, you're going to have guys who are even more so buying in, and especially on the defensive side of the football, it's going to be great because you've had this turnover of younger talent, younger guys who are hungry, ready to learn, but they're not, there's, I think for the most part, hopefully, but not like an entitled viewpoint because you've drafted a lot of these red star players and guys who are going to be leaders, are going to be putting in the time and effort, and that's what Fangio brings. So I'm hopeful. I do think that we'll see a huge adjustment, but,
I do too.
Until we see it.
I do too. I'm very hopeful. I am. I'm very high on those guys.
Yeah.
I think things will be a lot better.
How about the Axeman Jr.?
Oh, that's probably one of my favorite picks. Just the sentimental reasons. I can't deny that that's a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the kid can play too. I mean, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, he can't play." I predict he's going to be starting by the end of the year because I don't know what to think of Nakobe Dean. I don't know what to think of Nakobe Dean. I mean, he hasn't stayed healthy. And I'm not saying Nakobe Dean's bad, but he's got to stay healthy. I think if Trotter gets in there and plays and starts, he ain't giving up the job. That's what I think. So I'm hopeful. I really like the pick. I feel like Howie drafted him just for me because I was getting like crazy. Like, he's on the board, and we kept not taking him, and I'm like, we got it, just take him. And I felt like he just was trying to calm me down because the rest of the draft I was like, all right, I'm better now. So
you mean the 17th time that he traded back when he was still on the board was like, gosh, what are we doing? Oh my gosh. I kept going,
Trotter's not gonna be there now. Oh great, there that goes. But yeah, man, it worked out.
It definitely did. I was surprised too, and I'm not gonna lie, because he was one that I was not saying, hey, let's draft him early. I was Edgerrin Cooper, favorite choice, then Junior Colson, Cedric Gray, a number of different linebackers. Where it's like, okay, hey, let's get those.
I did too. I had those guys ahead of him too.
But at the spot that then he keeps falling so far, and it was what, like 150, was 155 or 150. Something like somewhere in that range. I don't remember the exact number, but somewhere in that range. Then you're like, okay, that it feels like, because you start seeing guys, what Tyron Hooper I think went before him, or Hopper went before. I'm like, okay, now we're starting to get guys, linebackers going off the board where I'm like, surely Trotter Jr. should be taken at this point, and somehow it's like the NFL
Yeah.
were like, no, he's an Eagle. Like it just makes sense. Let's
Yeah.
let the Eagles take
Yeah,
him.
you
So
got to wonder about that. You got didn't Porter's kid go to Pittsburgh last year?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got to wonder.
There's something to
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
Is there-
Yeah, I buy that conspiracy. I'm a conspiracy theorist by nature, so I totally believe it.
There's always a little something going on. I'll say that. Definitely, doesn't
Yep.
always what you see face value, things going on behind the scenes. So, um, it's interesting. I don't know. To your point, or to your case to be made, your prediction of Jeremiah Trotter starting by the end of the season, it wouldn't shock me, but at the same time, I also could see us going through the entire year and being like, well, hey, you know what? Maybe he played a little bit, injuries, whatever,
Right.
but not a
Yeah.
starter in that sense. Um,
Yep.
but it's the only thing that and you brought this up earlier, the only thing that I can fully get on board with, because I've seen him do it in the past, and this is not a Shaq Leonard situation. So let's just say that too with the
Right.
Devin White. Like
No.
Shaq Leonard was coming in where we're hoping and praying, like, hey, can you please find just a little bit,
Yeah.
a semblance
Right.
of what you used to be for a brief moment of time. But the writing was already on the wall. You had seen he had lost his starting job. There was a reason why the Colts were getting rid of him. There's all that. So this is totally different though. Devin White has not lost athleticism. He's not lost the ability
No.
to get there. Now, mentally, maybe there were some injuries he was dealing with.
Yeah.
Change of scenery possibly could help. And yes, there's deficiencies. I think everyone understands that too if you watch the film, and especially in the run game and the
Right.
gaps that he takes and things like that. He can clean it up. But it's not like it's impossible for him to return to that form. And so I'm with you in the sense of, I think that he's going to be very solid. And then it's a question of, who does that be next to him? And I don't know. I've gone all over the place, which is why I had a lot of people that are like, hey, that's a good point, and a lot of people that are like, that's ridiculous, you're crazy. But
Right.
I could see it being anywhere from Zack Baun gets the starting job, yet this dude hasn't basically played any inside linebacker or very
Right.
little in his career. But apparently Fangio likes it. He says, we see no reason why he can't. And so, no one asked. That's the thing that I keep going back to. It's not like the reporter, I think it was Zach Berman who asked at the press conference, but whoever it was, said, it's not like he asked, hey, tell us about Zack Baun. He literally
Right.
opens it up as a blanket question. What do you think about the linebacker situation?
Right.
Fangio could have
I know.
taken that in a million different areas. So, we get into the conspiracy part of it, but I'm reading into it saying there's more than meets the eye there of Fangio's
Right.
belief in Zack Baun, and he instantly says, we believe, and he didn't get asked about this. He just goes ahead and offers it and say, we believe he could play inside linebacker. There's nothing that tells us that
Right.
he can't. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Right now, it'd be
Well,
possible.
I think that's more of an indictment on Nakobe Dean, because Nakobe Dean has
Yeah,
been in
yeah.
the pros for a couple years. A guy like Trotter Jr., even if you listen to how Fangio talked about Quinyon Mitchell and DeJean, they're rookies. They got to prove it. We'll see what they do. I think he would look at Trotter the same way. You got to start yourself from the bottom and work your way up. So to me, that's more of an indictment on Nakobe Dean, because he's been injured. And listen, the reason I say Trotter starts at some point is because we don't have a lot of linebackers. It's not like there's a lot of competition there. So that's why I do think it's possible. But Nakobe Dean, I'm not saying he's a bust. I like the kid, but
Right.
I gotta see something from him. He's been hurt a lot the last 2 years.
Yeah. It's the and it's also one of the things too. I mean, he's progressing the right way. He said it's I think did he say 75%, or maybe he just said close and someone threw out a number. But he's not quite there, but he's getting close.
No.
But Liz Frank injury, I think everyone knows and understands, like, foot injuries can be lingering. We saw it all of last year, to your point. Can he return to form? How quickly can he return to form? I mentioned, I know it's totally different, but there's some similarities of, like, He lost his job to a Wisconsin linebacker before, and TJ Edwards, he could lose his job to, if it's Zach Baun, another Wisconsin linebacker who hangs out with TJ Edwards, very good friends. They work out in the offseason together. So, that potential. But then even Jeremiah Trotter Jr., like the dude knows ball. I mean, he is a good inside linebacker. He's got a lot of potential. There's areas where you could say, is he going to be size? Is that going to be an issue? Or is there going to be parts of coverage or things like that within a specific Vic Fangio scheme? But I mean, there's everyone listened to the press conference. There was not really a glowing endorsement, certainly not of Nakobe Dean, a glowing endorsement, because it's just like, hey, he's getting back and that's it. Just gloss over it, move right on to the next one. Whereas Howie Roseman has gone above and beyond every single time that you ask him about linebackers, not just Nakobe Dean, but just a broad, hey, what about the linebacker? We love Nakobe Dean. We believe in the person. We believe in the player. Like, he's trying to hype it up. And so it'll be interesting because it's going to be a compete for your job, which I love. Cream rises to the top, iron sharpens iron, and then all of a sudden we're going to see who does it end up being. But I think we're both in agreement of it feels like Devin White is pretty much a lock. Maybe not, but pretty much a lock. And then you have who is your other insert linebacker name.
Right.
So.
Yep, and that's what's going to be fun to watch during preseason because these guys are going to be fighting for a job. I think it should be wide open. So we'll see. Yeah.
That will be very exciting. Shout out to also, Fitness Warrior was reminding me that technically Shaq Leonard did give us one game, and then that's all she wrote. That he did play decent. Yeah. That's right. I think it was the Giants game.
That was it.
Yeah. Then also Andrew Leach said, love this team up, y'all. We appreciate that. Appreciate you hanging out.
Thank you, man.
Let's see. There was also, let's see. Jai here says, wow, first time been able to make a live, but appreciate it. So, heck yeah, absolutely. You guys make sure to hit the like button. And also, in the description, there's a link to sub to Philly 500's channel. You already got, 116,000 now? But if you have not, you've magically not subbed, make sure to go hit that sub button on Philly's page. So,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Appreciate you hanging out. Also, we're going to give away the jersey, too. I've got a couple. I think I saw a comment earlier, but the jersey giveaway is tonight. You haven't missed it yet, but we're going to do that here in a little bit. So for those wanting to give, or I guess having gotten in on the giveaway, we'll do the randomized spinner in just a bit. Let's move on to a little bit of I guess we could do a little bit of O-line talk. We haven't mentioned the later last picks, but there's some controversy or conspiracy or uncertainty, whatever you want to title it, I guess, in terms of who people are going to go. We talk about camp battles or talk about preseason and who's going to get the job. Trevor Keegan, drafted out of Michigan. Potential, solid pick. Who's going to be the right guard? Tyler Steen is probably I guess he's the favorite to start. He's right next to Cam Jurgens, but where are you at with right guard? We can even throw Mekhi Becton because there's speculation. Does he move to right guard?
Right.
I'll just leave it open. Blanket statement, right guard. Where are you at?
Here's what I think. This is the truth. Don't matter. You got Stoutland. Whoever Stoutland puts in there, I trust him. I know the guy's going to play well. Stoutland is such the game changer in this situation. But if I had to put money on it, I think it's either going to be Becton or Keegan. Because when I went and watched Keegan and learned more about him, I don't think he gave up a sack last year. I think he's a real deal. I like Steen too, don't get me wrong. And then Becton, I mean, he's got a lot of talent. If Stoutland can get something out of him, he might be the guy. And if he could play right guard, that would be great. But to me, you've got enough depth there. And you got Stoutland as a coach. Because of that, let the best man win. It doesn't matter to me, whoever it is. I know they'll play well.
That's the luxury to have for sure. The fact that you have Stoutland. Yeah, you're right on that. Also, real quick, I'm seeing some comments. It's not too late. If you haven't gotten in on the jersey giveaway, it's not too late. We'll probably do it in, 15-ish minutes or something like that. But there's a link in the description. It says get in on the jersey giveaway. You have to actually go back to the other video. But it's not too late, and it'll be jersey of your choice. So
do it.
Go in there.
Get it.
While they're doing that, and the people that still are already a part of it and hanging out with us, no, you're totally right. And everyone knows, I mean, it's how great is it to have a coordinator that we can trust. Now we've got more than just a Jeff Stoutland situation. But I do agree with you in the sense of, hey, Tyler Steen, fine. He might get the the initial favorite or be the job where it's like, you know what, it's yours to lose. We're going to have competition, though. We're going to see who ends up getting in that spot. I don't know. We kind of go back and forth, though, of Becton is a former first-round talent, so and I think it's obvious to most people, but there's tons of potential there. He's just never really lived up to that. But whether he's a swing tackle, whether it's hey, we're going to just make a total transition here and have him at the right guard, if there's anybody to maximize that potential and the fact that, I mean, you know for sure, you just alluded to it, but it's like, you know without a doubt, Howie Roseman did not make this move without consulting a Jeff Stoutland. You know, that's a foregone conclusion, but it's hey, Mekhi Becton is available. Stout, what do you think? And him giving the thumbs up on it is all that you need to know of saying, that is a phenomenal pickup because Stout believes in the player. He sees that he has the tools. There's things he obviously needs to clean up, but a former first-round pick, and now you have the luxury of saying, hey, does this guy just back up Lane? Does he back up Mailata? Both. If one of them gets injured, he can be that swing tackle. Or again, you know, hey, it doesn't make the worst thing in the world. I don't know how it's going to look necessarily to have a monster of 6'8", 370 or whatever at guard.
Right.
But, you know, it'd be a little bit different than what we saw last season of a Cam Jurgens at guard. But I wouldn't hate it because if he can be in there, then all of a sudden you're talking about the running game that we know is going to be effective. And, I mean, are you kidding me? Could you imagine? You got Landon Dickerson as your left guard, and you've got Mekhi Becton as your right guard. Like, you're just moving everybody out of the way. Saquon Barkley doesn't get touched before 5 yards.
Barkley ain't gonna know. Barkley's never seen holes like this. I'm telling you, he ain't gonna know what to do. He's not gonna know where to go. He's never seen this before.
Whoa,
he usually just has a wall of defensive players coming at him. That's all. He's never seen it. It's gonna be great.
He is. He's gonna have to be like holding on to the football, or he's used to it. He's like as he's getting it from Daniel Jones, he's used to like, I got to make the first guy miss immediately, and this is gonna be he's gonna get it and go, what's happened?
Yeah.
What's happened? You know, the first run might be a negative run because he's total shock of, are you what? There's no one here in the backfield hitting me.
I guarantee you, people are going to be saying, hey, Saquon just needs to hit the hole. He stutters too much. He's got to hit the hole. It's because he never seen a hole before. Until you watch, it's going to happen.
Just give him time. He'll be all right. You know, just take a little bit. But he's gonna be all right. He'll get used to it. Not everyone's been not everyone has had that blocking, to your point, but certainly someone that's coming from New York and dealing with the Giants. So you even saw it a little bit with Swift just very early on. And then it was like, with the second game against Minnesota, whenever I mean, it felt like he had a first down before anyone was even close to him because of the holes in the blocking on that side. So,
dude, I'll tell you this: if Kenneth Gainwell, didn't he miss that game? He was hurt. If he doesn't get hurt and miss that Minnesota game, DeAndre Swift never would have started a single game. I truly believe they would never have given him a chance.
You might be right.
Ever.
Yeah, because the New England game, what was it? Did Swift had one touch, right? He only played like
something like
3
that.
snaps or something.
He was backing up Gainwell. It was ridiculous.
It was one of those where after the trade, leading up the preseason camp and all this other stuff, you know, I know everyone was like, let's go. We got Agent Zero. And then coming away from that game, you're like, thank God that we won, because that was the most mismanaged game. Little did we know this was going to be the theme for basically the entire year, but the most mismanaged and why on earth are you not playing certain players? But you're right. If he had not performed like he did, and I can't remember the exact total of the yards, but it was something ridiculous since Shady had put up those numbers. You know, it was like the last time that someone had done that. And so he probably, as ridiculous as that is, he probably would have just been like, hey, your sticks at RB2 because we love Gainwell.
I love Gainwell. I don't get it. Gainwell don't gain nothing.
So
oh my gosh.
So
dude,
that's
that
why you're
horrible. Yeah, he tortures me. Like, there's always a player on the team that drives me crazy. It was Nelson Aguilar, Nate Allen, and then Derek Barnett, and now it's Kenneth Gainwell. I can't deal with him. So go Will Shipley. I'm rooting for you, buddy.
I love that. Get your running back. Get your RB2. Shout out to Ryan. What's up, man? It says howdy from Tokyo. Let's go. I don't know what time it is. It's got to be, I guess, early morning now at this point.
What day is it? Saturday? There.
See, that's what I always wonder is the people that were, because we had a few people from Japan, or I guess in Japan, that were watching the draft stream. And so that was, the goal was like, just tell us in the future, because you're literally into tomorrow. Tell us who they go ahead and pick.
Right.
But
Yeah.
they never
Yeah.
leaked it. We were getting stuff early from Twitter, but they were not sharing the news on that side. So,
Yeah.
Oh, I got a 5. Appreciate it from Big Marshall 38. Says, how do I get in on the giveaway? So yeah, I'm not going to do it yet. I'll wait for a little bit more so people can actually do this, but it's in the description. There's a link in the description. It says get in on the jersey giveaway, and you have to click that link. So it's going to take you away from this live stream briefly, but you just have to go there to the video, because that's the best way I've figured out how to give away these random ones without, end up taking everybody's time. So go to that link. It's in the description of this video, and then you have to go comment. Comment on that video, Fly Goes Fly. You'll see a million different comments in that video already. I think there's like 1,000 entries. But
now how do you get them in? How do you get them all in? Does it automatically record it?
So yeah, thankfully that's why I started doing it on videos, because there's a I think it's like YouTubeCommentPicker.com or something. It's like a random thing that I found, and so you just paste the link of the video, and then you can like basically do it on quotes of what people say, and then it'll pick every comment out there, and then just do like randomized spinner. So
that's cool. Yeah, that's cool.
Believe it or not, I did it manually like 2 times because I didn't think to like search it, and after doing it twice, I was like, never again. There's got to be an automated way to do this thing. So
yeah.
Yes, but if you have not already,
I know StreamYard has one.
Do they?
I got accused. I used the StreamYard one, and then I got accused of cheating anyways. And I was like, oh God, I had nothing to do with anything. So forget it.
Oh my gosh. There's always people that are gonna have something to say or accuse there. That's interesting. I didn't know I have Ecamm here, but they don't have the comment picker, so I had to just go for a different one. But something that's automated at least. I don't know if there's I've thought about doing a live stream one, but I don't know if you can have some people comment on the live stream and it take their comments for a giveaway.
StreamYard does
StreamYard do it on the live?
Yeah, on the live. That's where they put all the comments.
Oh,
so you
okay.
put something, you put like a hashtag Barkley.
Yeah.
And then everybody writes it, and then you just said, when you're ready to go, you hit the button, and it, like a spin wheel will come up, and then it'll automatically decide and show you who wins, and it'll have like graphics of like,
oh dang,
like confetti and stuff. So that worked pretty good for me when I did it. So you might want to try that.
That's legit. That would be so much easier too, because there's a lot of times where again I'm like, hey, you got to go to this video and everything. That's where it's like not live, but that would be even easier. So,
Yeah.
All right. Well, StreamYard is the way to go for that one, because it's going to be easier. So yeah, sweet. Appreciate it. Annette also dropped a 2, but said this crossover is dope. We appreciate you hanging out.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The last one we kind of already talked about Johnny Wilson, but last one we didn't really fully get into. Sticks with the O-line though. Dylan McMahon, baby Kelsey. I
don't know. I don't know what to think of him. I don't know. It was one of those pictures like it's again. I default to Stoutland. I got to assume that he watched. There's something that he likes and that he can develop. Kelsey's there every day. So hopefully, we'll see what this kid could do. I think this is one of those areas where we won't know for 2 or 3 years. So to me, I don't hate the pick. I never hate the pick on an offensive line as long as Stoutland's the coach. Whatever they do in offensive line, I default to him. He's the only guy that I completely fully trust on this team. That whatever you want, that guy, whatever Stoutland wants, he gets. That's how I look at it.
I'm with you there. Yeah, he's more than proven it at this point. Yeah, there's certainly. I mean, we already got into like the Sirianni and the other coordinators, but there's a reason why he's survived the tenures and different head coaching changes and things like that, because you have your answer in Jeff Stoutland, what he's able to do. So it will be interesting. I always love to like. I love the draft hype. Let me just say that I love the draft hype. I love whenever a player gets drafted. It's like, oh, hey, this is going to be the next so and so, right? But at the same time, like we got to live in a little bit of a realistic world and in a scenario of saying, just because Jason Kelsey was drafted in the 6th round, and this guy is athletic like Jason Kelsey and an undersized center, and was drafted 6th round, does not mean that we're automatically saying, oh, he is Jason Kelsey. I would argue. And it feels like the majority is here, but I've heard a lot of comments of saying Dylan McMahon is the next starting center. what on earth are we forgetting about beef jerky? Like Cam Jurgens was handpicked, hand selected by Jason
Kelsey, that's
Kelsey
right.
to be the successor. And he was not
Yeah,
he was serviceable as a guard. We could say that. Serviceable as a
right.
guard, but that's not his position. He's going to be the starting center this year. There's not a doubt in my
Yeah.
mind. And I think he's going to
Unless
be good.
Kelsey comes back. Unless
Okay.
Kelsey
Okay.
changes his mind.
That's fair.
Which 5% chance that happens. The
Yeah.
only reason I think it could happen is Brett Favre did it every year for like 8 years. So I guess it's technically possible.
True.
But
Could
you
never
know, I
could
don't know.
never hang him up. It was never officially
No.
done. He was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna come back. Yeah, even though Jason's showing up apparently like what every single day just
Every
about to the
day.
facility. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more of those. I could much easier like percentage wise. I don't know what I would put it at necessarily, but a much higher percentage to say he maybe gets an assistant coaching job eventually
Right.
or something. Even though he's going to
Front
ESPN,
office.
but yeah, if he gets involved with a team, he's you can tell, and I love that, but like you can tell, he loves it so much. There's no way that it'll
Yeah.
be long term of him staying away from the squad. Whether it's
I
go
agree.
try out ESPN, eventually come back, or in some capacity, but like
Yeah.
he's a legend. He's a
I
legend for a
agree.
reason. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I guess real quickly to wrap that up, Cam Jurgens.
I
I
like
mean,
him.
is there any? Do you have any concern? I've seen some people saying, "Oh, how do we know? Is he going to any concern
No,
with him personally? The tush push because it's a new role, right? I mean, it's hopefully
I,
successful because of him, but
I guess if there's one thing or one area, maybe the tush push, right? He's also going to he's going to call some things out, going on with the defenses and stuff. Maybe he makes mistakes, stuff like that. But I think overall, I liked what I saw from him as a rookie at center. I thought he was better at center than at guard. So I think he'll be good. I'm okay with him. And I default to Stoutland again. I trust the coach. So I think he'll be fine.
yeah, I agree. I've said it before, but yeah, I'm not. I don't know in terms of because someone was saying what's the percentage? You know, if the brotherly shove was 92%, what will it be this year with Cam Jurgens? And
At
I mean,
worst, 82%.
yeah,
If
it's still going to be
something like that.
extremely effective. It'll be the best play in football from a short
Yeah.
yardage situation. It's not going to change that
Right.
drastically.
No.
And I mean, Cam Jurgens, he brings a couple things that Jason Kelsey didn't or didn't have at least towards the end of his career
Right.
here because he's younger and more athletic and he's got the strength, knowledge, and wisdom and all the other stuff. Sure, that's going to be different, and Cam Jurgens is going to have to pick that up. But I'm not. I mean, I don't know necessarily if I'm going to go and look at the offense and say where my stack ranking concerns or whatever, but I've like totally written off and to your point, you're trusting Jeff Stoutland, but I've like totally written off the center swap out, and that's not to discredit Jason Kelsey. Like I'm not saying
Right.
oh my gosh, yeah, just it's easy to move on from a Jason Kelsey at center, but it's just the confidence that I have in
Right.
they saw what they liked in Cam Jurgens. He was picked to be a center. He had to kind of end up being the right guard because Tyler Steen was not the option and there was not really a good best option there. So they say,
Yeah.
you go ahead and do it for one season, but he's going to be back to his best true position and,
Right.
not a better mentor
I
or coach to have.
I think where you're gonna it might be different. Like I said, I think calling out protections, those kind of things. I think that's where Kelsey, you might miss him some because he might pick up on things
Right. Yeah.
that with his experience that Jurgens doesn't. But in terms of just playing out there, I think Jurgens will be fine.
That's a good point too. You mentioned the calling out protections. Could definitely see that. How are we feeling with Jalen Hurts and blitz pickup pressure? It plays into Kellen Moore a lot, I guess too. But
It does. The teams are going to blitz him. I think they're going to keep blitzing him. One of the things that they never used with Swift, that I never understood, is why didn't you, like, their screen pass to the running back was open for like 30 yards so many times. They never used it. With Moore likes to run a lot more motion. He likes to do a lot of things like that. I think you'll see more passes to Barkley as an outlet when Hurts is getting blitzed. So I think that it's going to be a lot harder for teams to keep doing it. I think he's going to be better in those aspects than he was last year, for sure.
yeah, I think it'll be. I'm right there with you. I think it'll be like prove it. Maybe you'll see early on of teams testing and saying, "Hey,
Right.
this is a spot naturally that there's maybe some weakness, whether there's a little bit on Jalen, whether there's a little bit on scheme
Yep.
previously, or not having the right tools." But once you beat it a couple times, it's immediately going to have to be, okay, defense, all right, this is different. He's got an answer for it. There's hot
Right.
routes, there's audibles, there's seeing Jalen or helping Jalen to see things at the line, whether it's him making the calls or the changes. And then even if there's a little bit of growth on Cam Jurgens' part, but hopefully he's picking
Yeah.
up some of the pressure too and being able to help from that side. But yeah, I'm not super concerned from that element. Again, just going back to what we were saying previously. Shout out to Thumbo here for the 2. Says, what lineup y'all want to see for the defensive back? We were talking about that earlier, but for joining the late. What rehash
my dream
the
situation.
dream scenario?
Slay Mitchell outside, Isaiah Rodgers in the slot, then C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Cooper DeJean are my safeties. That's my dream scenario.
There you go. I agree. Honestly, you got to get the younger players on the field, like we were talking about earlier. They need the reps. You have the luxury of them being able to get the reps. It will pay huge dividends as we get into the playoffs. Yeah. I believe that we will get there. I guess to that note, your May 10th predictions, because we're so far away from the season. But what record would you, as of today, knowing what we know about the team, there's so many things that'll probably change, but as of today, what record are you going with?
We haven't even seen the schedule yet.
I know, so it's really putting you
I'll say 12, between 12 and 14 wins. I think 12 and 14 wins. I got them, I view them as a top 4 team in the NFC conference. I think it's the Eagles, Niners, Detroit, and Green Bay. I think those are your 4 big teams. So I think between 12 and 14 wins, you know. That's how I have it.
I was saying 11 before the draft, and then after the draft, it was kind of like, I might be able to. And I don't know. This might be just because I'm so scarred from last season. There's some PTSD of like, I don't want to go overconfident and say that of 14 wins and we're just gonna go. Right. But it after the draft, it's kind of like, all right, maybe I could move up from 11. I've just tried to maybe go into it with a little bit, as we were talking about earlier, the Green Bay game. I hope, everyone hopes we win. I could see us losing that game because that's
a tough game.
Opener against, Green Bay's proven more than enough that they can be very difficult. So if you stumble out of the gate, you're trying to figure some things out. I don't know. That's where I've gone. I'm saying kind of 11 to 12 wins. I hope that I'm completely wrong. I hope it's a 14 win, 15 win even. I would just have a crazy run through everybody. But
well, I'll tell you this: if they start slow, like let's say they start 2-4 or something like that, I think they're going to fire Nick Sirianni on the spot. I don't think he makes it long.
That is.
I know.
What's the okay? That's a good question that you've brought up here. You've sparked after saying that. What is the over under number? How bad does the record have to be for Sirianni to get canned?
I think 2-4 start, he's gone.
2-4. Anything worse than 2-4, he's gone.
Anything worse than 2-4, he's gone. I think that Kellen Moore is then promoted and will become the new head coach right away.
Oh man,
because they almost hired him as a head coach a couple years ago. So
yeah,
that's what I think. I think at 2-4, anything worse than that, he's done. He's done.
you know that. Yes, you're true. That's right. They do like him, but man, could you imagine 2-4 and then say, gosh, I don't know. He's got an extremely short leash, and like you said, I mean, he's kind of your words of neutered, but there's just not a lot of what he's doing out there. But man, I don't know. It'd be I might have to say like a 2 and I might have to get a little bit more. I might have to go like a 2-5. I might have to throw one more game in. A little disclaimer. One more game out there.
One more game.
I don't know. It's just because I agree with you for all the reasons we were talking about previously of Sirianni and is he the answer and all this other stuff. But it's like I just don't know where that leash is. At the end of the season, it's a no doubt. I mean, but to your point, it's like, okay, if you're like wavering, almost making the playoffs, and then you end up slightly missing it, for sure, it's you're done. Sorry, it's not going to work out. But if it's a slow start, how much of a leash does he end up having?
Well, didn't they call Belichick about a head coaching job this all season? Like there
Yeah.
there was some thought of getting rid
There's
of Nick Sirianni. I have to think that everything that happened, if they come out 2-4 with the amount of money that they've spent, with that offense they have, I don't think he makes it. I don't.
yeah. It. I mean, there's the writing is on the wall certainly with the record and the
Yeah.
schedule, and if it is a 2-4, I don't know, but
I don't want. I
gosh,
hope that's not the case.
if it's
That was
right, yeah. I mean, I think who said this comment earlier? It's based on the roster. Yeah, Cope 54 said the roster alone won't let the team start 2-4. So Sirianni's not
it.
going
Shouldn't.
anywhere.
It shouldn't.
I agree
Yeah,
with
it
that.
shouldn't.
Yeah. Hope it's
Yeah.
not. No, Iron Mike saying Bill on the back burner. Bill Belichick does not need to.
I don't want Bill
No,
Belichick at all.
it's gonna
No.
be no way, no, absolutely. If you're gonna replace, it'll be. I'm happy with Kellen Moore. That's perfectly fine. Do not bring in Bill Belichick.
I think it would be Kellen Moore because I think they were close to hiring him, and that they know that if he has a good year, he's probably going to leave anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, yeah, that's what I think. But I mean, who knows?
It's all hypotheticals. We hopefully we don't have this problem. Hopefully the problem I guess is we've won the Super Bowl, but then again you got to have a. But I'll be okay. That's an okay consolation. If we have to lose our offensive coordinator because we won the Super Bowl, I guess I can bear it.
Yeah,
That'll be fine.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I'll take that trade off.
Talking about head coaches real quick, and I'm just giving a last second for anybody else. The link, Fanny's asking about the link. The link is in the description. It says get in on the jersey giveaway. It's right there in the description. It's got like a little alarm emoji as well. You can see it. Just open up the more details, and it should be there. Before we get to that, though, talking about head coaches, I guess we have to at least mention it briefly. But what'd you make of Shady and DeJean, their comment on Chip Kelly rehashing old, I mean, kind of bygones and what happened previously? A little bit more info, maybe, but we kind of already knew these things going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think to me the biggest thing was just the more info that you got, the details. Michael Vick was crying, things like that, and then just some of the ways Chip was with certain things was crazy. I mean, how do you take Shady McCoy and trade him for Kiko Alonso? How do you just release Deshaun Jackson in his prime for nothing? I mean, these are just insane moves. Trade Nick Foles for Sam Bradford. Like, Chip was a disaster. At the end of the day, he was a disaster. Mm-hmm. So, to me, it was interesting. It was really interesting listening to it and hearing it. But it also made me really sick in my stomach to have to go through that all again. I was a big, when they hired Chip Kelly, I was like, oh man, this is a young mind. He's offensive. He's gonna come in. He's gonna take the NFL by storm. And then after the first year, when they started talking about he was trying to track their sleep and monitor things that they were doing at home, I said, this isn't gonna last. There's no way professionals are gonna let that go.
Yeah.
That's when I knew it was doomed. To be honest with you.
Yeah. It is totally. There's an element I think that everyone understands, or I shouldn't say everyone because Chip Kelly came in as a head coach and started doing it. But it's like the element of, okay, you've gone from college to professionalism, and I don't think that very many people like a micromanager in their regular everyday job. Like, I hate it. That's the biggest pet peeve of mine. Like, trust me to do my job. If you hired me to do the job, you hired me for a reason. Let me do it. If I'm not doing it well, then just get rid of me. Basically, I don't need someone over my shoulder because it's more of the pressure than anything else, and it's the micromanaging. And yet, like, the lower the level you get, it's understandable. Sure, Pee-wee football, even high school football, you can do it. College, a little bit. But professional football, like, these guys, you don't come, especially for the 35-year-old vets who are like, listen, I've been doing this for 12 years. I'm ready to just play out the next couple seasons. I don't need you coming in here and tracking my sleep schedule, making me pee in a cup to do drug tests every week, or the hydration, not the drug, the hydration test every week. It's just ridiculous. So I don't know. It's
and then the thing with where he has assistants go talk to the star players. So, hey, Deshaun, pull your pants. That's that's just not going to work in the professional.
No.
No player's going to respect you for doing
Right.
that.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
just crazy. It's crazy.
Someone else do your bidding. It's like, hey, Chip wants you to do this. It's like, wait, what? Why
Yeah.
would he not just come tell me himself? It's just the uncomfortability of
Yeah.
it all, and I don't know.
Crazy.
It's thankfully we got out of that mess somehow. If it's
Yeah.
true, I mean, what Shady said was that BG was gonna get traded, but Jeffrey Lurie stepped in. I don't know.
Yeah. I believe it.
It
I mean,
would
he was
be
going to trade. Remember the Mariota trade? He was got Fletcher Cox, 3 first-round picks.
yeah.
I mean, he was going to trade everything for him.
Yeah, he was ready to do it. So that's why I say it's the first time that I'd heard of Shady saying that, but it was also one of those where I'm like, I don't doubt it, because knowing all the other things he was going to do, it's like, okay, hold on. But thankfully, again, talking about stepping in at least finally, hope it would have been better to be beforehand, but Jeffrey was like, hey, look, enough is enough. We're not trading BG. We're not doing this here. Move on. Try to make do with it. But yeah, it's I mean, I guess if you got to go through that to end up eventually getting the Super Bowl, I suppose, but that was just a terrible time, and the fact that we had to bring it back up too is like, all right, I watched because I was too interested to not get like their inside scoop of more of what they thought about it and just rehashing everything else. But at the same time, it just gave you like the uneasiness of going,
It does.
Yep, I remember those days. I don't want to remember. Yeah. I really don't want to relive, but you're kind of making me here by these situations you're bringing up. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's in a much better spot. So thank goodness for that. I mean, we got guys getting extended. Devontae Smith, AJ Brown locking up to 2029. I mean,
yeah, it's great.
That part alone is
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, incredible.
We got $27 million in cap space. I mean, we're sitting pretty. We're sitting pretty.
Unreal. Howie's the GOAT for that too. So
absolutely.
Everyone can make mistakes. Also, I just say that because some people will be like, "Hey, he's messed up here," or the Justin Jefferson, and But who hasn't made? You can point to everyone's career in the NFL, and they all make mistakes. But for what he's able to do, and the emphasis on that side, so Big Marshall 38, appreciate the 2, says I think Sirianni is out no matter what.
It's interesting.
It's a blanket statement, I guess, of no matter what. I suppose doesn't matter record. It doesn't even have to be 2-4. He's out, even if we win the Super Bowl.
If he won, I'm assuming he means like you get to the playoffs and you lose the second round play, he'd still be gone, something like that. But we'll see.
All right, last question here. Then I'm going to do the jersey giveaway. To that point, we mentioned record-wise, 2-4 is enough to get Sirianni fired. What's enough to keep Sirianni? Like how far does he have to go to the Super Bowl? Is it making an NFC Championship game? Like how far is enough where you're thinking, not personally, because you and I have talked about how we don't believe necessarily that he's the right answer, or you could promote Kellen Moore, but for the Eagles organization, how far does he have to make it where you think that he keeps his job, basically?
I think if he gets to the second round of the playoffs, I think most likely he's okay.
Okay.
I think, assuming, we don't know how many injuries where they're dealing with, but if they're fairly healthy, and he gets to the second round of the playoffs and they lose a tough game or something like that, I think he'll be okay. But if he gets to round 1 of the playoffs and loses, I think he's gone. NFC Championship game, I think he definitely stays.
I agree. I think, as unfortunate as it might be, I could see it. If it's first round, that's not enough. Yeah. Second round, no. I could see it because of the improvement. But then again, we're talking about the same scenario. If you keep Sirianni, and then a team is for sure going to swoop in, no pun intended, but like, Kellen Moore, he's available if you want him.
He's gone. I'll fire Nick. I tell you right now, I would fire him and keep Kellen Moore before I'd let him go. But they won't do that. I mean, if they get crushed or blown out in the second round, maybe he goes. Like, I think that second round is the kind of border, like, not sure.
Yeah. It'd be interesting. The beauty is that we're set up in the right spot. We like the coordinators. We like the squad, what they bring. But we'll see. it depends on a lot of unknowns, and that's the beauty of it, right? Even the draft hype and
Yeah.
the speculation who they're going to go with, but then the players got to perform. I'm pumped about
Right.
seeing Nolan Smith, especially because last season I was wanting him to play a lot more and he didn't. But
Right.
hey, you insert him a lot more because he's going to have to play. And does that end up paying
need him.
dividends? We will see. Yes, we do. We absolutely need production and we need help from that side. So,
agreed.
All right, let's do this. I appreciate you again too, hopping on, man. This has been a blast.
Of course, thank you for having
2 hours
me. I
too.
appreciate it.
We got to do this. Someone asked before if this was the first time. This is the second time that we've done a live show. Last time Thomas was joining as well, but second time.
Yeah.
It's been almost a year, so I think we got to do this a little more often, not wait a year. But I appreciate you making the time.
100%. No
And
doubt, man.
let's. I missed this one too. Let me throw this other super chat, and then we'll get to it. Big Marshall 38, another 5. Appreciate it, bro. Said we could go to the Super Bowl and win it. I'm telling you. Okay, really? He said we could go to this. So I mean, I was kind of with you thinking that the Super Bowl was the caveat here. Apparently not. He says we could go to the Super Bowl and win it, and I'm telling y'all, Sirianni's out.
Then why is he still the coach?
He would have been fired. He would have for sure been fired.
I would have.
You just move on with Kellen Moore. If you're telling, if hypothetically Jeffrey Lurie is running this through his mind and going, you know what? If Sirianni goes and wins the Super Bowl for us next year, he's still going to be gone. Then he would just cut bait with him this past season. It's like
that's what I think. Right.
I mean, I can appreciate the sentiment and understanding that he's not the answer, but there's absolutely no way. Albert Pastrana, appreciate the 5-2, says no way the Eagles don't win 13 games minimum NFC Championship game. All right, I love the optimism. Talent is definitely there. It really just comes down to are they coached up and making the plays that they need to, that they're capable of. The offense is going to have to carry you, but I think that it's
early on. I think they do. I think at the end of the year, like you said, I think the defense starts to catch up some.
Yeah. I love it. All right, let's do this. I'll give the giveaway to the jersey real quick. Let me make sure I can actually do this here. I always mess up with the screen share, so I think we're good there. Let's see. And there we go. All right. It cut you out for a split second, so I don't know how to get you back in here. You're still with us, but I can't see it. Can't see you for a second, but
can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, I can definitely hear you.
Oh, okay.
But I just can't see you because it's honestly probably my fault. But I went to the screen share and it cut you out. So all right, we'll do the spinner, the giveaway. Good luck to everybody. This is all the comments from the past video. Whoever wins, jersey of your choice. Totally randomized spinner. So here we go. And it is, well, there's a longer delay now. And it is DJ Introvert 47. Congrats, DJ Introvert 47. The Fly Eagles Fly comment. And you have won. So either you can reach out to me, DM on Twitter. I've got link in the description as well. Or I'll also post this to the community page. But you have won the Eagles jersey of your choice. So just hit me up that way. I'll also post it, and then good to go. But congrats, DJ Introvert 47. I'll also comment back on the video that you made the comment to. So there you go. Heck yeah.
There you go.
Got the jersey. All right, a few more super chats actually coming in here real quick, so we'll get to these. Let's see. Oh, Dennis Designs, appreciate the 10 cents. Thanks, Philly 500, and Dallas still stinks.
They definitely still stink.
Definitely do.
What a crappy team that is.
What? I mean, if there's not a worse way to describe all in, I don't know. What does all in mean if you have this type of off season? Like,
yeah, I don't know.
What are you doing?
I really have I really have started to buy into the fact that I think the owner's sabotaging that team on purpose to rebuild, and I think he's setting Dak Prescott up to be the scapegoat. I truly believe that. I mean, why wouldn't you redo his contract? Like, you would have saved $20-something million instantly.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've set Dak up to be the scapegoat. I think they want to lose. I heard Michael Irvin believe they want Shedeur Sanders next year. So maybe that's what they're doing, because it doesn't make any sense what they're doing at all.
It does not at all. No, I'm with you because if you wanted to, I mean, whatever. Jerry said some of the most asinine comments in the world
Yeah.
and just continues to, and nothing really changes. So that's the beauty of Dallas and that we love making fun of them for so much. But it's if you not even wanted to go all in, but you wanted to just go semi in, you would start
Right.
with get the contract done with your quarterback, free up some cap
Right.
space, figure out your receiver. Don't wait until Amon-Ra St. Brown, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith get these contracts because CD's asking price is just going higher and
It's
higher.
it's
And
beautiful.
it's
Beautiful.
fantastic on the outside looking in, but it's just like, what do you do? And then you re-sign Zeke
Right.
because that's gonna work, for the
I
running
mean,
back room.
I mean,
Like,
are
what?
you scared? Are we scared of Zeke Elliott? I mean,
No,
they
no,
have no running game at all. And then you have Micah Parsons, future Eagle Micah Parsons. All he talks
hmm
about are the Eagles. He literally
he
wants
does.
to play in
Yes,
Philly.
yes.
I'm truly believing he's coming to Philly in a few years. So
It
yeah, I
wouldn't be
mean
shocking.
they're in bad shape. No,
He's
not at all.
he's it like especially to and I understand the doubt. Some people are like, oh no, he's never going to do that. Dallas would never let him. Blah blah blah. What all this other stuff. But like, if it gets to the point where he really really wants out, then Dallas is even going to just be like, we don't want you here
Yeah,
because you're not going to be able to have the locker room morale, the culture, everything. They're just
right,
not going to. And then all of a sudden he could be, all right, there you go. You're going to Philly. But it's
right,
also to your point, like what player in the NFL, and I know lots of players have podcasts these days, and it's great to get inside scoop and
right.
everything else. And some people love it, some people hate it, especially if you're on an opposing team, whatever. But like, what player in the NFL talks about an opposing team, a rival opposing team, as much as Micah Parsons, and not only talks about them, but he compliments everything or just about
I
everything the
know
Eagles do.
everything.
And then he
I
has
know.
very little, which I agree with him, but he has very little positives to say about the Cowboys. But that's your
I
team.
know.
So, it's like,
Then he's at the Sixers games. Then he's at the
yeah,
Phillies games.
yeah. It's
I mean,
the
it's
writing's on the
crazy.
wall. It seems obvious.
It's like, and look at what they're paying these pass rushers now. It's like over $30 million now. So they're waiting on his contract as well. I mean, he's gonna make way too much money for Jerry Jones to sign. It's just gonna happen.
Yeah, I agree. It's it's a for sure. It's a foregone conclusion. I've already just made up my mind. It's only a matter of time. He wants to be
It
here.
is.
He's making it
That's
just about as blatantly obvious as you can at
that's
this point.
that's why I call him future Eagles Michael Parsons because it's gonna happen.
I love that too. I love it every single time. Big Marshall, appreciate the 5. He said, "Oh, we're back to the Sirianni." He said, "My reason for Sirianni is because we're not, or we are that good. It's not because of Sirianni. So we're just a good team, but it's not because of Sirianni." I mean, we agree with the sentiment of that, but still, it's not
Yeah.
they're not getting rid
Yeah.
of a coach who wins a Super Bowl. If you
No.
don't make the playoffs or maybe even first round exit, whatever, like we talked about, then
Yeah.
possibly. Brandon Miller, appreciate the 5, says go Birds, St. Louis, I think. STL. Let's go. Appreciate you tuning in. All right. We got a couple of happy birthday Jerry Jones comments as well. Yeah, I guess
Yeah. Jerry's pretty old.
it's a
Close
he's
to
getting up there.
10,000 years, I think.
Yeah.
Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars. That's what he reminds me of.
That's actually a really good point. The older he gets, for sure, he's definitely
Yeah.
getting in that route. But oh my gosh, yeah, someone did win the jersey giveaway too. For people asking, let's see, DJ Introvert 47. So I will contact you if you don't contact me, but I will send out the info and get the jersey selection what you want. So, anything else? Again, appreciate you, dude, just coming on, talking birds.
Oh, no.
Definitely do this more,
just,
but
yeah. Thank you for having me. I've had a blast, so I really appreciate it. I think it's going to be an interesting season. I don't even think this roster is necessarily done. I think once we get past June 1st, I look for another wave of some moves by Howie. They may not be big, but I still think there's some moves to be made, and I really would not mind still upgrading that wide receiver spot. But that's just me.
I wouldn't mind it either. Is there any?
Yeah.
I'll put you on the spot. Last bit. Big Marshall's still on that. Appreciate the 2, man. It says they got rid of Doug with laughing emojis. Yes, but that's different. Getting rid of Doug is different than getting rid of, especially if you're saying like regardless of the situation, winning a Super Bowl. Like Doug was not
Right.
willing to get neutered, basically. I mean, to use your words of Sirianni being neutered,
Right.
Doug went into the office of Jeffrey Lurie, and Lurie said, "Hey, you need to cut these guys. You need to let these guys go."
Hmm.
And you know what? I can respect it. Like whether it was the right or
Yeah.
wrong decision, however you want to argue that, I can respect Doug holding to his guns and saying, "Look, I'm not going to do that. Like those are my guys. I believe in them."
Right.
And so he's going to walk out and say, "You know what? You're going to have to let me go, or I'm going to walk, whatever." And you go your separate ways. Sirianni's different. That's perfectly fine, but
Yeah.
he is, I guess what's the terminology? A lame duck? A lame duck at this point
Yeah.
for the team. So
I think so.
he's there, but he's not there. So
Yeah, he's got far less power than he had a year ago. So,
without a doubt.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah. Last that you mentioned or potential acquisition. Is there
Mhm.
any
Receiver?
big name, anyone? I'll just put you on the spot, but any prediction, anyone you just want to throw out there and say this is a
No.
potential chance? Anyone that comes to mind at all?
The last guy that I really wanted was Boyd. I thought Boyd would have
Yeah.
been a great pickup, and I think he just signed with was Tennessee, so
Mhm.
he signed. I don't really know who's even available at this point. Who's out
Yeah.
there still? So I don't know. I'm waiting, hoping that June 1st, somebody gets cut or something like that, or maybe they make a small trade. But they might be perfectly content where they're at wide receiver going
Mhm.
into camp. So I don't know that I expect they're going to do anything, but I would like them to. I think Zay Jones signed. I think he visited Dallas and then signed with Arizona or something like that. So
Yeah, you're right. He did. I forgot about
yeah,
that.
it's
And that's the
hilarious.
best part too, is the fact that it's like whetting the appetite and then also be like, oh well, sorry, there's just
Yeah,
another potential that goes away and you're not actually
exactly.
able to. So
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Well, cool, man. I appreciate you coming on. It's been a blast.
Yeah, man.
We'll definitely do
I
this.
appreciate it.
I'm sure everybody is, but if you have not already, go like and subscribe. Check out Philly 500 content. I've got the link in the description. Dude's on. I guess what the next is 200,000, right? You're at 116, so now let's go to
I can't
200,000 for
even.
subs
I
and
can't even. I can't even think about that. I'm still processing that I even got over 100,000. So
that's awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Very well deserved. So
Thanks,
appreciate you
man. I
again though
appreciate
coming
it.
and hanging out.
Thanks for having me on.
Awesome.
Appreciate
All
it.
right, everybody, have a awesome weekend. Appreciate you joining as always. I will hit up again DJ Introvert 47 about the jersey, and also shout out to all the moms out there. Mother's Day weekend. Hope you enjoy with the family. Everybody else, have a
Yeah.
great time. But until then, you guys know what it is. Go Birds.